Welcome back. This is Trinity Storm, and you are watching third part of What If Naruto Was the Saiyan of Unknown Breed. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Naruto looked up at the undead Uchiha in his KCM and MSSJ forms. The memories he got from his clone told him that this man wasn't just a powerful shinobi. There was a reason he was the most feared shinobi who had ever lived. When he looked to his left, he could see that Brawly had gotten better and was ready to fight. Before they charged, two lightning bolts hit the ground in front of them, and the Mizukage, Raikage, and Hokage suddenly appeared. Hokage-sama? Naruto was shocked to see his leader, surrogate mother. Tsunade turned around and smiled. She told him, "It looks like you've been busy." Naruto gave a small laugh and rubbed the back of his head. He blinked a few times and looked a little confused. Madara said, "Tsunade, Senju, of course I knew you would show up. The Uzumaki and Senju are allies, so I knew you would." The Slug Princess looked at the man with narrowed eyes and said, "Madara, you should have stayed dead. The world was better without you." "Was it now?" asked Madara, who was laughing and trying to annoy Senju. "Because from what I can tell, you're all the same," he said in a cold tone at the end. He took a look at the Saiyans. "But you two are very different from the others. What are your names?" Naruto showed a smile. "That's Naruto, Naruto Uzumaki, and my friend Brawly," he said, pointing his thumb back at the muscled Saiyan. The former leader of the Uchiha didn't move when a huge figure, which turned out to be I in his lightning armor with his fist cocked back and going to attack, but Susanoo armor blocked it and a skeletal hand popped out, hitting the Raikage and knocking him back, which made him angry. "Like I said, you're weak," Madara laughed. Tsunade turned around and looked at the majestic Saiyan. "Naruto, you need to find that man in a mask." "We'll take care of Madara," they told him. He was going to argue. "Your Hokage told you to do this," she said in a way that left no room for argument. Naruto nodded and told the Saiyans to hold on to his shoulder. He then looked at Tsunade. "Be careful, Mom," he said, and he and the Saiyans disappeared. Tsunade smiled briefly, but it went away when she looked at the Uchiha with a fire in her eyes she hadn't seen since her grandfather. She hit her hand with her fist, leaving marks on her arms and face. "Get ready, Madara. I'm going to show you the real power of the Senju clan," she said. Bardock sent out a ki blast that killed several Zetsus. He then grabbed one and spun it around, knocking other Zetsus away, before tossing it and destroying it. He saw that some of the shinobi were having trouble with the clones, so he flew over and killed them. He saw a huge monster coming at him, so he used his ki to make a blue ball in his right hand. "Try this," Bardock said as he threw the attack. It hit the creature right in the middle of the chest, making a hole. The creature began to shake and then blew up into pieces. He went down and ran into Kakashi. He said, "Well, that takes care of that." "Yeah, at least for now," Kakashi said. Kakashi was surprised when Naruto showed up in front of the guys, but Bardock was calm because he knew it was him. The Saiyan said, "It's about time you were done." Naruto looked sheepish as he rubbed the back of his head. He looked at his sensei with a serious face and said, "Sorry, I just got caught up in the moment." "You should know this, sensei. The man in the mask is not Madara Uchiha." Kakashi didn't understand. "What do you mean, and how do you know?" Naruto surprised his sensei by saying, "Because my big friend and I just faced the real him a few minutes ago. Plus, the old jerk Tsuchikage said it was him, even though he's been dead for a long time." Bardock asked, "Who is this Madara guy?" Kakashi said, "Madara Uchiha is said to be the strongest shinobi who has ever lived, just as strong as our former Shodan Hokage." When Bardock Saiyan heard this, it made his blood boil. Bardock said with a smile and his arm crossed, "That's strong, huh?" Naruto said, "Don't underestimate him. Even though we could take care of him, Madara is an Edo Tensei and the strongest shinobi for a reason." The majestic Saiyan stopped when he felt 7 chakra signatures coming closer. He went back and looked at him. He got the men's attention by saying, "We've got company." 7 people were on the trees, the masked man and the other 6 Jinchurikis. "You." Naruto's eyes got icy. "Uzumaki, we meet again." "For the last time," the man said. Bardock asked, "Who's this guy?" Naruto asked, "You say you're Madara Uchiha, but we know he's been dead for a while." "Who are you?" The man said, "I'm nobody." All I care about is the success of Project Tsuki no Mi. Bardock said, "Buddy, I don't know who you are, but your voice is starting to annoy me." The masked Uchiha made fun of him by saying, "Ah, so the monkey speaks." Bardock's anger grew as he clenched his fist. Calling a Saiyan a monkey is one of the worst things you can say to them. Naruto stopped him from attacking by putting out his arm. Big talk for a guy who was getting his ass kicked by a so-called monkey not too long ago, Naruto grinned, feeling the Uchiha's irritation. The man said, "Let me show you a couple of my puppets," as the Jinchurikis began to move. "Sensei, get everyone out of here, the guys and I will handle it," Naruto told his sensei, and he, Bardock, and Broly took off into the air, while Kakashi told the men to fall back. The former Jinchuriki of the Yanbi spat out lava balls, which the Saiyans easily dodged. Naruto sent out multiple ki blasts, but the undead Mizukage made an aqua mirror that made a copy of Naruto do the same attack, causing an explosion when the two attacks hit and filling the area with smoke. They flew out of the smoke and saw bubbles everywhere. When Naruto knows this jutsu, his eyes get big. "Move fast." Everyone shouted as many bubbles burst and exploded. Bardock looked up and saw the Jinchuriki of Nibi charging at him with a fist, which he blocked. He knew something was wrong, but it was too late, as claws popped out of the Jinchuriki's knuckles and pierced through his forearm, making him grunt in pain, but he had been in so many battles his whole life that he had a high pain tolerance. He hit the Kunoichi in the chin with a knee, then a backflip kick. The Kunoichi ran away, and the claws fell off. In the air, he saw a lava-covered Yanbi Jinchuriki charging at him. He clenched his right fist and put ki into it. He was able to avoid the attack and hit the man in the back with a wave of blue ki, sending him crashing through the trees. Broly and the Gobi Jinchuriki were fighting it out. They were trading punches, but the Saiyan was starting to get used to them and his attacks were getting harder and faster. He hit the shinobi with a hard right and left hook, then a front kick to the face. The shinobi went flying, but the attack wasn't over yet. As Broly flew, he hit the Jinchuriki with another kick that cracked his armor and sent him flying into two trees, destroying them in the ground. Broly turned around when he heard something flying and saw the Nanabi Jinchuriki sending out tiny light particles that made the battlefield bright and blinded the Saiyan. The recovered Gobi Jinchuriki landed a punch to the body, but the Saiyan grabbed him and gave a solid headbutt, followed by a double axe handle that sent the shinobi crashing hard to the ground. Naruto was blocking attacks from the Mizukage's staff hook, so he decided to make it even as he called out his ki scythe, spun it around, and made a "bring it" sign at the cage who was coming at him. Both of them were attacking each other, and sparks were flying all around them until they locked up. Naruto could feel the Jinchuriki of Rokubi behind him and had to act quickly. He broke free of the cage's hold, cut through the staff, and kicked the cage away. He then threw his weapon behind him, which hit the Jinchuriki and cut it in half. As the body healed, the Saiyan shinobi noticed something in the chest. "That looks like a rod. It's the same rod Nagato used to control pain, so he must also have the Rinnegan." Naruto's scythe came back to him as he made a white ki and blasted the attack, which would have hit if the masked man hadn't used the Kamui to stop it. Naruto was going to go after him, but from behind he dodged a red tail and saw the Mizukage in the second Biju form. He cursed, knowing he shouldn't have been distracted, and used his chakra arms to extend and hit the cage with a Rasengan ki blast, sending it flying away. Before he could do anything else, another red tail went by him, and he saw another Jinchuriki in the second form and ran after it. Bardock was trying to avoid the Nibi Jinchuriki's tails, so he shot it with ki blasts. The beast shook them off and reached out with its arm, but Bardock dodged it and flew at it, landing a few punches and then sending it away with a corkscrew kick. The Yanbi Jinchuriki appeared behind going for a stab with tail, but Bardock vanished, leaving an after-image confusing the beast till it felt a kick in the spine sending it down, but it grabbed a branch with its tail and swung back towards the Saiyan and went for a slash which Bardock avoided before launching his signature ki move Riot Javelin at the Jinchuriki. Unfortunately, it saw the attack coming and used 4 of its tails to deflect it so quickly that Bardock didn't have time to block it. The attack hit him and blew up. The Saiyan jumped out of the smoke and landed on a branch. Even though half of his armor was broken and he had some scratches, he looked fine. He jumped to another tree to avoid a lava ball, but the Jinchuriki kept shooting them at the Saiyan, who kept dodging them. The Saiyan felt something coming down, and when he looked up, he saw that the Nibi Jinchuriki was throwing its tail at him. He cursed, but he was able to avoid the tails in the lava ball by a hair's breadth. His arm was burned, though. He looked and saw two Jinchurikis standing next to each other and growling at him. Bardock tore a piece of his pants and wrapped it around the burn on his left arm. He smiled. The Saiyan said, "Now this is a challenge." He turned on his power and flew after them. Brawly and the changed Gobi were wrestling for control of the situation. The beast growled, but Brawly wasn't scared in the least. Soon, he was bending the beast's hands with his own growl, which made his power grow. He gave a strong headbutt, which sent out a shockwave that stunned the Jinchuriki. Then, he got hit with a huge punch that would have gone right through his chakra cloak, but Brawly wasn't done. He made a green key ball and shot it away. He looked up, grabbed the Nanabi Jinchuriki's face, and flew, slamming its face into several trees and breaking them. He then quickly turned the beast and threw it into more trees, breaking them. Brawly felt something behind him and just dodged a Gobi claw, but it still cut him in the chest. The Biju chakra started to burn him, and he winced as the Gobi turned around and punched the Saiyan with its tail. Nanabi came up from behind and cut Brawly in the back, causing him to yell in pain and fall to the ground. He tried to get back up, but the chakra was still hurting him. "Get up, Brawly!" Paragus yelled. The Gobi jumped at the Saiyan to kill him, but Brawly snapped his head up and let out a loud shout, which made a bright green energy flare out of nowhere and knocked the Jinchuriki back. He stood up and continued to yell. The muscles in his body tightened, and his eyes went from black to a greenish-yellow color. When he saw the Nanabi Jinchuriki coming at him, he opened his mouth and made a green key, which he fired at the Nanabi and sent into the air. This caused a huge explosion that shook the area and probably half of the battlefield. Naruto kicked the Sanbi Jinchuriki into a couple of trees. When he felt the ground shake, he looked up and was shocked to see Brawly attack. He thought, "Holy shit," but shook his head and almost forgot about his fight. He used his ki scythe to block the Rokubi's tails, and as he moved forward, he knocked each tail away. Once he saw the opening, he used instant transmission to disappear. He then appeared above the beast and hit it with a ki-infused Rasengan, which gave the attack more power and sent the Jinchuriki flying through trees. When he felt someone behind him, he quickly turned around and swung the scythe, which hit the mask that was trying to grab him. Naruto had used the blunt side of his weapon to spin it around. The masked man blocked it with a gunbai, but Naruto pushed him away. He saw the Sanbi coming from the left and a recovered Rokubi coming from the right. He put away his scythe, put his arms up in an X-guard, closed his eyes, and gathered ki in his hands. Once the Jinchurikis were only a few inches away, he opened his eyes, spread his arms out, and let out a shout that blew them both away. Even when his puppets were in their second form, they were still being beaten. This made the man in the mask angry. "I can't do anything but let them take their final shape. I was hoping I could hold out longer. Who are these people?" The man made a sign with his hand, and then the Jinchuriki changed into their final form as they grew into giants and destroyed the forest in their Biju form. Naruto landed next to a group of Saiyans. They looked a little hurt, but they were fine. He looked at the big Biju and saw that the Gobi was trying to attack the masked man, but a purple aura-covered chain came out of the ground and wrapped around the Gobi's neck, slamming it into the ground. "It looks like he doesn't have full control, but we shouldn't let up," Naruto told them. "Alright, guys, get ready." Bardock knew that Naruto and Brawly could handle these beasts, but he couldn't. At least not in this form. He used his ki to make a powerball, which he then threw into the air. The powerball exploded, making a full moon. When Naruto saw this, he looked up and then at Bardock, who had thrown it. He was going to ask him what was going on, but then he saw the Saiyan shaking and growling. The Saiyan's eyes were pure white, and he yelled into the air as his muscles started to grow, his teeth turned into canines, and his face changed slowly as his scream got louder and turned into a roar. Naruto was surprised when he saw Bardock change into an Uzaru, but he remembered that a Saiyan can change into an Uzaru under the full moon. He didn't know, though, that Bardock could do the same thing. As Bardock grew bigger and bigger until he was fully in his great ape form, the three men flew away. Bardock then ran after the tail beasts. "Come on, big guy," Naruto said as he flew quickly toward the Biju, and Brawly followed him because he wanted to fight. Bardock grappled with the Yanbi, and they kept pushing each other back to see who was stronger. When Bardock kicked the Biju in the face, he turned around and landed a right hook to the face of the Nibi, which made her run away. Bardock was grabbed by the neck by Yanbi. The Sanbi ran away in its spiked shell and soon started rolling fast toward Bardock like a spiked boulder, but he wouldn't have it. He flipped Son Goku over his shoulder and threw him at the Sanbi, causing them to collide and roll back. He then opened his mouth and shot a blue ki beam at the Bijus. Broly flew toward the giant insect called a Nanabi. He dodged the Nanabi's flying wind blades as it flapped its wings, then hit it with a punch that pushed it back and a kick to the face that knocked it out. He charged again, but this time he sent out a lot of green ki blasts that did a little bit of damage. Broly turned around when he heard quick steps and saw that the controlled Gobi was coming at him. The Saiyan didn't back down and caught the sharp horn to stop it. He growled as he picked up the Biju with incredible strength, spun around, and threw it at Nanabi so fast that the Biju didn't have time to get out of the way. When they hit, Broly opened his mouth and charged a ki beam, which he then shot at the Bijus, connecting them and hurting them even more. Naruto was flying all around the Nibi, which was trying to hit him with its sharp claws, but he kept avoiding them. He made 4 huge ki Rasengans with his chakra arms and slammed them into the Nibi, knocking her down. He could tell that the Rokubi behind him was about to attack, so he used instant transmission to move behind the Biju and make a ki Rasen Shuriken. He then slammed it into the back of the Biju, sending it to the ground. Ki Naruto charged at the Nibi, saying, "I hope the real me finds Kabuto. I can feel the Kyubi chakra draining, so I won't have much time left, and the same can be said for my MSSJ form." Naruto walked slowly into the cave. He turned off the Kyubi chakra and was in his MSSJ2 with his Sage mode on. He saw a barrier, but it didn't stop him. He shot it with a ki, destroying it. He heard Kabuto say, "I'm surprised you were able to get past my barrier and find this place." The majestic Saiyan said, "Sorry to ruin your fun, Kabuto, but I learned a few things while I was gone, and today is the day you die." Around him, electricity crackled and his ki went up. "This reanimation jutsu can't be broken, even if you kill me," Kabuto said arrogantly to the Kyubi Jinchuriki to make him mad. He laughed in a threatening way and said, "I guess my luck hasn't run out." Naruto disappeared and then showed up in front of the snake. He punched the snake in the jaw, sending it flying into the cave wall. He told her, "You talk too much." Kabuto broke through the wall and put his jaw back where it belonged. His strength is as good as Tsunade's, and if it weren't for this form, I would have taken more damage. Kabuto Yakushi, as god of destruction of Universe Zero, I find you guilty and sentence you to death, he said as he flew quickly toward the snake. The snake jumped out of the way of the punch, which broke a piece of the cave wall. Kabuto jumped and sent snakes that looked like anacondas at the Saiyan. The Saiyan called out his ki scythe and sliced through them like they were nothing. A bigger snake went to eat him, but he threw a simple Rasenbomb into its mouth, causing the head to explode. Naruto looked around to find the jerk. In Sage mode, he saw little chakra signatures that looked like snakeskin when he looked at them closely. "He's trying to trick me," Naruto said as he put ki in his mouth and shot a big white beam that went everywhere and did a lot of damage to the cave. As the attack ended, he quickly turned around and saw Kabuto's true form come out of a snake's mouth. "You like it, but you're not the only one who can change. I've become the perfect snake sage, which even Orochimaru-sama couldn't do. I am a dragon." He let out a wave of chakra. Naruto didn't care about this and didn't look the least bit interested. "Kabuto, you've lost what little humanity you had left. By the time I'm done with you, you'll be sorry you messed with my home, my friends, and my family," he said. To show how different he was from the bastard, he went for the ultimate MSSJ2, with his ki overpowering the chakra. Kabuto was scared for the first time in a long time. Even in his perfect sage mode, he could feel that the Kyubi Jinchuriki's power was still much stronger. No, it won't end this way. Not until he brings Orochimaru-sama back. He showed hand signals. Sage art. White extreme attack. Kabuto shot out a large, chakra-dense dragon holding a black orb. The orb started to swirl around the dragon and fuse with it, making a strange, loud whistle sound and making the whole room brighten. Naruto squinted at this and saw that Kabuto was coming at him in a zigzag pattern. He jumped up and the snake from Kabuto's stomach lunged at him, but Naruto caught it, which surprised the former Auto Shinobi. He then swung Kabuto around quickly and threw him hard into the wall, making a wide spiderweb crack. Sage, the snake, fell out of the wall, landed on his feet, and coughed up some blood. But how? My jutsu was supposed to paralyze him, and only once in Sage mode, he stopped and looked more closely at the iris. It was shaped like a toad, and the skin around the eyes was orange. Now I get it, he said as he stood up and moved his bones back. As expected from Jiraiya's apprentice, the Gaki can also use Sage Mode, he said, popping his neck. Kabuto jumped from place to place so quickly that he looked like a blur to Naruto, but he could still see him. He fell toward him after bouncing off the ceiling, which is what the Saiyan wanted. He then sent a fast, sharp gust of wind that cut the snake's head off, but Kabuto was still alive because he flipped backwards and stuck to the ceiling. It doesn't matter what you throw at me, Kabuto. I'll always turn it around. Here, let me make it easier for you. He put away his scythe and put his left arm behind him and his right arm in front of him. With one hand, Kabuto said, he charged up while turning on his chakra scalpels and did a corkscrew dive down. Naruto waited until Kabuto was only a few inches away before he dodged, but he didn't stop there. He cut the back of the jerk's neck, which hurt his nervous system and sent him crashing into rocks and boulders. When the smoke cleared, Kabuto was seen to be shedding. Is that all you've got? The majestic Saiyan teased the snake sage, making him angry. Part of the snake that had been cut off looked like a shinobi that Naruto and his team had fought before. Kitamaru Spiral Web. Kabuto shot a huge spider web at the Konoha shinobi, who still wasn't impressed. He just lifted his right leg, which sent a blade-like key through the web like butter. The spider shinobi wasn't done yet, so he changed into Kimimaro, who used the dead bone pulse. Macabre bone pulse. Bracken dance. Kabuto slammed his hand into the ground, and hundreds of sharp bones popped out of the ground toward Naruto. Naruto stood his ground, formed ki energy in his mouth, and shot out a large beam that destroyed the bones, leaving only ashes. Naruto heard the sound of a flute, but his body didn't move. Kabuto came out of the smoke, and instead of Kimimaro, one of the 4 Tayuya was playing the flute. The Tayuya form changed into Orochimaru's giant snake absorb form, which stretched its neck and lunged at Naruto. He said, "It looks like your arrogance will be your own downfall, but don't worry with you as a part of me and Orochimaru, I'll be unbeatable." He charged as the Tayuya form changed into Orochimaru's giant snake absorb form. "I'll take you," Kabuto said. Naruto yelled as his ki energy exploded out of his body and pushed his enemy away. He then flew at the snake and used his right arm to make a big ball wind Rasengan, which he slammed into the snake and tore it into bloody ribbons. Before Kabuto could do anything, Naruto jumped out of nowhere and grabbed him by the throat. Naruto flew as he smashed Kabuto's face against the cave walls and a rock, then threw him hard against a bigger rock, breaking it. Soon, the snake sage came out from between the stones, and a huge white snake rushed at him, but its head was cut off. Naruto looked very serious as he said, "Enough. It's time for this to end once and for all." He opened both of his hands, making 2 Rasengans that were white with a purple tint and flew at his opponent. Kabuto made a hand sign, but when he looked up, he saw the Saiyan disappear in a white flash. The next thing he knew, he was slammed into the ground with a lot of pain in his back. Once the air cleared, Naruto stood over the broken Kabuto, who had changed into a new body. To his surprise, Kabuto still felt pain in his spine, and to his horror, he couldn't feel his legs. He looked up at Naruto with anger. "What have you done?" Naruto did not show any emotion. He told Kabuto, much to his horror, "I learned a new energy called Hakai, which is a special energy that only gods of destruction can use. I basically erased the lower part of your nerves with your spine. It doesn't matter how hard you try to switch bodies, the same thing will happen." The majestic Saiyan bit his thumb, getting blood on his left arm, and called out for a crow. It was Itachi's crow, which Shisui's other Sharingan was inside. Naruto's clone went to Konoha and took Shisui's stolen eye from Danzo. He took it to Itachi, who put it in his crow and told him to use the Koto Amatsukami on Kabuto. The crow landed on his shoulder and looked at Kabuto. Kabuto looked and saw the Mangekyo Sharingan. He tried to look away, but it was too late. Naruto grabbed the snake by the hair and waited while he made the hand signs for Edo Tensei release. He then muttered something under his breath. Naruto was hit by a breeze, and he could feel the chakra energy in his body starting to break down. He sighed and looked at Kabuto, who was brain dead. Holding out his right hand, he said, "Glad that's over with." "Hakai!" Naruto yelled, and Kabuto started to glow purple and disappear. Once that was done, he looked over and saw a face he knew. It was Anko, who was sleeping. He told him to take her back to the Konoha by making a cage bushin. He focused on sensing for Bardock, Brawly, and Paragus. He found that they were all together, but Bardock's and Brawly's ki were much higher. He used his instant transmission and disappeared. Naruto and the others. Naruto walked onto the battlefield and turned around to see the Nibi charging at him. He ducked and flew, giving the Biju cat a kick that sent it skittering across the battlefield. He looked around and saw a giant Uzaru fighting the Yanbi and Sanbi, Brawly fighting the Nanabi and Gobi, and his clone fighting the Rokubi. As he ran toward his clone, he knocked the slug away. When they looked at each other, the clone sighed, nodded, and poofed away. As soon as Naruto got the memories, he knew what he had to do. "Guys, find a black rod on them and pull them out," he said as he tried to grab the Nibi, who jumped away while blowing blue fire. Bardock choked the Yanbi while it tried to get away, but he brought it back and hit it on the back of the head. He wasn't done yet, so he grabbed the Biju's tails and spun it around, knocking into Sanbi. Brawly dodged more wind blades, fired green ki blasts, and got close enough to hit Nanabi with an axe handle. He saw a shadow above him and looked up to see the Gobi falling on him, but he didn't move. Instead, he put his hands up, caught the Biju, growled, and used his strength to throw the Biju away. Naruto was fighting Nibi while avoiding the acid attacks that were falling from the sky, which wasn't too hard. He went KCM and launched his chakra arms, which made two giant wind ki Rasengan that hit both Bijus and sent them away. The Saiyans saw that all of the Bijus were in the same place, so they started to form a purple ball. Naruto's eyes were wide because he knew what was coming. He would have to go to MSSJ3, but before he did, he was in his mindscape and face to face with the Kyubi, who was still locked behind the gates. "It looks like you're in a tight spot, Gaki," the Kyubi said. "Is that all you have to say?" "Because, in case you haven't noticed, I'm in the middle of a battle against not only 6 Bijus but also the jerk who made our lives a living hell." Naruto was angry that he was called at such a bad time. For being such a so-called god of destruction, I never thought he would drink wine. Kyubi made fun of Naruto's anger. "Let's be honest. You and I have never been friends, and we probably won't agree on much. But we both respect each other's power. When you fought that alien hit, you could have used my chakra to finish the match quickly, but instead you used your own power that you found to win. I'll even give you credit for what you did to that snake Kabuto." Naruto didn't say anything. He was surprised that the Kyubi respected him, but he didn't say anything. "When I saw that god Beerus had taken you under his care, I was sure that the power would corrupt you and you'd end up like Madara Uchiha or even worse, but I was wrong." Kyubi say yes. Naruto broke the silence after a few seconds of it. "Would you be willing to help me? I know that despite my achievements, I still have a long way to go before you can trust me. I've never seen you as a weapon, and I never will. After this war is over, I'll find a way to free Bijus and take them somewhere peaceful where they won't be used for war." When the Kyubi stood up, Naruto said as he looked up. Kyubi surprised Naruto by throwing out his right fist. He looked up and didn't hesitate before bumping fists with him. He let out a small laugh, which made Kyubi smile, and the gate slowly opened. "To help my family. For my buddies. About my house. For my whole world. For my mom and dad. For us, too." When Naruto was in his MSSJ form, the gate flew open and energy poured around him. The Saiyans knew what might happen and were getting ready to attack. Kakashi and Guy came along and saw what was going on. "This does not look good." Kakashi told him. "I'll have to open the 8th gate." Guy said, taking a position. "Don't, you idiot. You already know what will happen if you do." Kakashi looked angry. "It's time to stop." The masked man told the Bijus to attack, which made them start their attack. Brawly and Uzaru Bardock attacked with their ki mouth beams, stopping 3 of the Bijus. The other 3 were coming, but before they got close, a giant white chakra tail hit the Bijus' attack, which surprised the masked man. Guy and Kakashi covered their eyes to keep from seeing the strong energy, but Kakashi saw what looked like Minato. "Who are you?" The masked shinobi was surprised, but as the light faded, he saw that it wasn't Minato, but his son Naruto. Naruto turned around to look at the Jonins. "Don't worry, senseis, I've got this," Naruto said with a smile before turning back to the Bijus and charging at them with a Brawly and an Uzaru Bardock in Avatar Kyubi mode. The man in the mask looked worried because things weren't going according to plan. Not only were his pets being pushed back, but now that the Uzumaki Gaki had full control of the Kyubi chakra, he might have to call on the Geto Mazo sooner than he thought. He used hand signs to call on the humanoid monster. Naruto was able to get hold of the 6 Biju, and with the help of Brawly and Bardock, he was able to get hold of the black rods. But before he could pull them out, everything stopped, and he was met by the Biju and their former Jinchuriki. Just like canon. As the humanoid monster ate the Biju, the chains stuck into them and hurt. Naruto got back on his feet, looked up with his fist clenched, and gave the masked person a death glare to tell them they were going to hurt. After the Uchiha put up a barrier around the humanoid monster, he didn't have time to destroy the mask because Naruto was coming at him fast with his Rasengan. Once again, he passed through, but that was exactly what he wanted because he appeared in front of the Uchiha right away. When the attack hit the mask and broke it, the Uchiha flipped over and slowly landed on his back, revealing his face. Naruto got a good look at the man, and his sensei's gasp of shock could be heard. "Oh, Obito, is that you?" Kakashi and Guy asked with wide eyes. "That's not my name anymore, Hitaki. You made me into the person you see in front of you." Obito glared at the shinobi in a mask. Naruto didn't know who this guy was. Kakashi asked, "What are you talking about?" As they looked at each other, silence hung in the air until Obito spoke. "You just let Rin die." He said something angry, which made his Sharingan spin. The Jonin was shocked. The conversation was cut off when Madara Uchiha landed next to Obito and revealed himself. "Mind if I interrupt?" he asked. Naruto was shocked to find out that the Uchiha was still alive, but he couldn't figure out how. "What did you do to each other?" Madara didn't say anything. "What the heck did you do to her?" Naruto yelled, going MSSJ too. As his ki flared and electricity crackled around his body. "Let's just say she's not doing too well." He said something, which caused a spark. Naruto flew and landed a punch, but a gunbai blocked it. The force still pushed Madara away, and he quickly turned and kicked Obito far away. "Go after the barrier, I've got these too." Naruto told the Saiyans and flew toward the Uchihas. Obito made hand signs and blew out deep red flames, but Naruto went through it and went to punch him in the jaw. But Obito used his Kamui as Naruto went through him, and Madara was already making hand signs and calling up a wooden dragon from the ground to wrap around Naruto. He got out of it easily, then kicked the Uchiha in the chest, cracking his armor and sending him away. He turned around and grabbed Obito's wrist while forming a ki Rasengan, but the vines that came out and wrapped around his wrist stopped it. Flying up, he ripped the vines out of the ground and threw them off his wrist. He then made 9 chakra arms that shot out white ki blasts all over the battlefield, filling the arena with smoke. When the smoke cleared, Madara used his Susanoo to protect him and Obito. That Susanoo is no joke. All I did was make scratch. It's time to get up close and personal. He flew toward the ultimate armor and punched it with all his strength, which made a dent. He kept going with kicks but had to avoid a sword attack and flew away, seeing the Susanoo change into the second stage as the skeleton figure crew muscles and armor summoning 2 blades. Naruto took on his Kyubi form and attacked the Uchiha, landing blow after blow while dodging the swords. He then dropped the form and did his signature move, which was to cup his hand. Madara watched as the Kyubi Jinchuriki used his Rinnegan to make a ball of energy. Very interesting. This power seems to be the same as chakra, but it's more destructive. "I'll never find another worthy opponent again," he thought as he made his perfect Susanoo. What a wonderful spiral wave. Naruto yelled and thrust his attack at the Uchiha. Unfortunately, Susanoo's structure grew bigger and bigger until it was as big as a Biju, but the attacks still did some damage. Naruto flew back and around the Susanoo, firing ki at it from all directions, but it did no damage. He saw a punch coming at him, so he made a fist, added ki to it, and threw the punch, connecting the 2 attacks and making a huge shockwave. Madara heard a crack and saw Susanoo's hand break and fall apart. The Uchiha was stunned, but Madara started to smile. "Obito, how long will it be until the 10 tail is ready?" Naruto landed next to the Saiyans, who were still attacking the barrier that protected the Gedo Mazo. Luckily, the barrier started to crack and was soon destroyed, causing an explosion. "What happened?" In a deep voice, Bardock said. Naruto searched for life, but when the smoke cleared, he saw a monster with 10 tails that roared and shook the ground. "What in the hell is that?" says Naruto. "That Naruto is just what the Jubi." Kyubi said as he looked at the monster with wide eyes. "What on earth is that?" Paragus was surprised. "It's ugly, no matter what it is." Bardock told him. Brawly was ready to fight, but his father stopped him. Naruto was trying to think of a plan, and when he looked up and saw the red moon, he felt something. His body stiffened, and he couldn't take his eyes off the moon. His heart was racing, and he was breathing faster. Kakashi knew something wasn't right, so he looked at his student, who was acting strangely. He asked, "Naruto, what's wrong?" This got Paragas's attention, and Paragas's eyes went wide. "Get back." He and his son, as well as Kakashi, jumped back. The majestic Saiyan fell to his knees as his whole body shook and his muscles grew. He grew canines and let out a low growl. Madara and Obito jumped on the Kyubi. When they saw how the Jinchuriki reacted, they knew this could be their chance, but they were afraid. Naruto growled loudly, his head snapped up, his eyes turned red, and he yelled like a demon. His ki pushed everyone away and made a crater under him, while his ki shot up high into the sky. Even though his body was changing and his ki was getting stronger by the minute, he still cried out loud. This made the crater deeper, and the air around the Jinchuriki was charged with electricity. Kakashi kept his eyes covered. "What's going on with my pupil?" Paragus was asked by Kakashi. "It's the Uzaru form. When a Saiyan sees a full moon, they change into giant apes like Bardock." "Why then didn't he change sooner?" The masked shinobi made a sad face. "This must have something to do with him being a majestic Saiyan." Bardock said that the power of feeling was 5 times stronger than his. At the same time, Obito was both nervous and angry. He was mad that the Jinchuriki kept getting stronger, but that was what made him nervous. It was too strong. "It just can't be," Obito called out. The majestic Saiyan's face started to slowly change, and many tall rock cliffs shot out while one carried him into the air. With a loud roar, a large beam of white exploded, and a huge Uzaru came out. It was almost twice as big as the Kyubi, but it had a leaner, more muscular body, and its arms and legs were the same way. His eyes were red, but his white fur and tail were what people noticed most. He grunted and let out a loud roar. The magnificent Uzaru has woken up. In a space pod that had just been put down, a baby Kakarot was heard crying. "I set this to go to a faraway planet called Earth. The people there have low power levels and aren't very technologically advanced, so I think Jin will do well there. Luckily, it's not a very valuable world, so I'm hoping it won't even show up on Frieza's radar." When baby Kakarot opened his eyes, he saw a lovely woman with a few tears in her eyes. She said, "If your father is wrong about this, we'll come get you right away." A man who looked like him but had a scar on his cheek walked up next to her. He told him, "Listen, son, you do what it takes to stay alive, got it?" Kakarot just tilted his head. The Saiyan woman said, "We'll see you really soon." The man put his hand on the red-tinted glass, and so did Kakarot, who wanted to feel his father's warmth. The man said, "Goodbye." As Kakarot looked down through the glass, the pod slowly started to rise up into the air. Before he was shot away, a woman ran up to him and yelled, "Don't forget us, Kakarot." In the middle of space, the pod took off. End Dream Original Soundtrack 244. Goku's eyes popped open wide, and he quickly sat up, breathing and sweating. He looked over to see Chi-Chi moving around, but she was still sleeping, which was good for him because he knew his wife didn't like to stay up late. He took off the covers and slowly stood up, but he didn't have a shirt on. He walked over to a window and looked out at the stars. What did that dream mean? Were the man and woman who looked like him his parents? Since his late brother Raditz told him that he was Saiyan, he never wanted to find out about his family. He may not have admitted it, but he was afraid to find out. He learned about the history of the Saiyans from King Kai, but he had never thought about his real parents before because Grandpa Gohan was all he needed. However, that dream made him wonder a lot about his real parents. I wonder what kind of people they were. Goku was thinking. Goku, he heard his wife Chi-Chi say. When he turned around, she was awake and looking a little worried, because she knew that her husband never wakes up this late at night. What's wrong? She asked, frowning. He gave a small smile and shook his head. It was just a dream, he told her, and when he got back on the bed, he kissed her to make her smile. Let's try to go back to sleep, he said as he and his wife got back into bed and cuddled. Goku closed his eyes and decided to wait until tomorrow to find out if King Kai knew who his parents were. He went back to sleep after that. The battlefield. The majestic Uzaru let out a loud roar, pounded its chest, and shot a big white beam into the sky. Kyubi roared and charged, not scared. The beast tried to bite Naruto's head off, which made him angry. He opened his mouth and shot an intensified ki beam right into its eye, making it cry out in pain. Naruto took advantage of this and hit it with a big right punch, sending it back. Madara and Obito had to jump off because they didn't want to be in the middle of this fight. He hurt the Kyubi? Obito couldn't believe what he was hearing. Madara said, "It looks like that," and then he turned to see the shinobi force coming. "It seems we have visitors." Uzaru Naruto ran at the Kyubi and hit it with a shoulder thrust, which sent it flying, but it didn't move. It opened its mouth, and a huge amount of energy came out. The majestic Uzaru slightly opened his mouth and made a huge white ki. Both beams of energy hit each other to see who was stronger, but Naruto's attack was stronger than the Kyubi's, which hit the beast and made it fall in pain. Madara was killing many shinobi with his Susanoo. When he looked, he saw that the ape was in charge of the Kyubi. The Kyubi was supposed to be unstoppable, but I guess without the full Kyubi chakra it can't heal as quickly and can only take so much from that ape. He was startled out of his thoughts by a shockwave and saw the muscled Saiyan Brawly beating on his ultimate defense while the other ape shot a beam of energy. He brought his Susanoo to full power and shaped it into its best shape. It pulled out its sword and tried to hit Brawly with it. Brawly caught the sword and was slightly pushed down, but that didn't stop him from pushing the blade back. Uzaru Bardock ran at Madara and gave him a ki-powered Superman punch that cracked his face a little. Next, Brawly ripped the sword out of Susanoo's hand and threw it so that the blade hit Susanoo. Obito and Madara had to move out of the way on the inside. Brawly and Bardock opened their mouths and fired a blue and green ki wave at the Susanoo. The Susanoo made a shield to stop it, but it didn't work because the shield and the left arm were both destroyed. Uzaru Naruto charged at the recovered Kyubi, which opened its mouth to make a huge Biju bomb, but he didn't slow down. The attack was shot at him, and instead of dodging it, he punched it away in a far distance, destroying many mountains. Everyone, including Madara and Obito, was shocked. Grunting, the majestic Uzaru opened its mouth and made a shape that looked like a huge Biju bomb, but it was all white. He shot at the beast, which caused a huge explosion that sent a blast of shockwaves through the air. Naruto's Uzaru let out a low growl as he waited for the smoke to clear. Once it did, the Kyubi changed, growing legs and a right arm. Its eye was fully healed, and it let out a scary roar. The majestic Uzaru pounded its chest and roared, causing chakra to shoot out of its body. Black marks started to appear all over its fur, which also began to glow like flames. His power has grown by a huge amount, said Paragus in a scared voice. Respectfully, Uzaru Bardock said, "I can see now why he's a god of destruction." When Brawly saw a power that was much, much stronger than his, he was shocked. Fear made Obito start to sweat. How? How could this have happened? The battle was supposed to go in his favor, and everything was going so well, but these monkeys are ruining everything. The Kyubi made a cone-shaped Biju bomb and shot it at the charging majestic Uzaru. The Uzaru hit it with a right punch, which knocked the attack away. The Kyubi didn't stop and kept firing bombs at the Uzaru, who kept hitting them with his right fist. Once it was close enough, the Uzaru caught the beast's punch and snapped his jaw on the arm, making the chakra monster scream. But it wasn't over yet, because Naruto jerked his head back hard, ripping the arm off and making the chakra monster scream in pain. The Kyubi tried to attack with all 10 of its tails, but Naruto caught them and began to swing the beast around, slamming it on the ground 4 times and stepping on its back. Naruto kicked the monster back, Uzaru, and then roared and attacked the shinobi force out of the blue. "Why is he attacking us?" Kakashi asked as he used Paragus to avoid an attack. Paragus said, "He has lost all control over himself. When a Saiyan goes into their great ape form for the first time, nothing can stop their blinding rage." Naruto stopped fighting the army of shinobi when he saw the Susanoo. He used his ki energy to make a white beam and shoot it at the Susanoo. Madara and Obito saw this, but they didn't have much time to react before the Susanoo broke up, sending them flying and crashing hard. The majestic Uzaru went back at the army, but Bardock got his attention. "Naruto, snap out of it," he said, but he was hit away. Brawly then came at him. He dodged a punch and kicked the ape in the face, which stunned him, but he got up and shot a normal-sized ki wave out of its mouth, sending the muscled Saiyan crashing into a cliff. Madara was just getting up, and the Kyubi next to him looked like it hurt. He saw Obito, who was hurt the most. His left arm and leg were gone, and there was a burn mark on his left side. He used hand gestures to say, it looks like I'll have to act on my plans much sooner than I thought. Obito and Madara, who was living off the chakra, were both stabbed by black rods. Madara did another hand sign, and this time, with the help of his Rinnegan, he came back to life. Madara looked at his hands and grinned widely. He then turned to see the white flaming ape attacking the Shinobi Alliance. Using this to his advantage, he went through the hand signs again and touched the Kyubi, which absorbed into him. Many fireballs and earth bullets were hitting Naruto Uzaru, which annoyed him. He grabbed a big piece of cliff and threw it hard. This time, Broly came back much faster and hit Naruto with a headbutt, putting him on his back. When the Saiyan came in, he slammed his foot into Naruto's body. Naruto yelled and grabbed Broly, squeezing him. Slowly, the Saiyan's bones started to pop, and just as something was about to break, Bardock hit Naruto in the eye with a punch that had ki in it, hurting him for a short time. Kakashi asked Paragus, "What do we have to do to get him back to normal?" The Elder Saiyan said, "The only way to do that would be to cut off his tail, which is where his power comes from." Majestic Uzaru hit Broly away and was about to send a ki wave to the army of Shinobi, but just as he was about to do that, something stopped him. A woman called out his name, Naruto-kun. The majestic Uzaru stopped and turned around to see a female shinobi with lavender-colored eyes who looked familiar to him. "Naruto-kun, it's me, Hinata. You have to stop. We're not your enemies. Please come back," she said as a tear ran down her cheek. Uzaru Naruto was confused by this and didn't understand why the girl was crying. He slowly lifted his hand and used his finger to wipe away the tear. He gave a low growl as he tried to remember who she was. Slowly, memories started to come back. Madara jumped out of the ground, making everyone look. He was floating up, and the wind was making his hair, which had turned white and spiky, move. Sage 6 Path Madara was floating in front of the shinobi. He turned the shakuho into a spear-like weapon and threw it at Hinata. Naruto saw what he was doing and grabbed Hinata as he turned around. As the weapon went into him, he screamed in pain. She yelled, "Naruto-kun." Majestic Uzaru put her down and slowly pulled the weapon out of her shoulder. He threw the weapon back at Madara, who caught it as it changed back to its normal shakuho form. Madara looked at himself and then at the ape who jumped on a cliff and growled. "The power of the Sage of the Sixth Path is outstanding." Madara yelled out, "Show me your real power, Naruto Uzumaki. Show me." Uzaru Naruto roared as he began to glow brightly. He thrashed around and let out his ki energy, destroying the cliff he was standing on and filling the area with smoke from the broken rocks. Normal Bardock and Broly looked around to see what was going on. Hinata and Sakura were afraid of the worst, and Tsunade and the other cages didn't know what was going on. Madara's eyes got smaller as he tried to find any signs of life. As the mess slowly went away, a person could be seen standing on a broken boulder. As the fog lifted, I could see that the person was 6 feet tall, wearing black pants with a silver sash around the waist, silver wristbands, and kung fu shoes. He had a tail and white fur covered his body, except for his chest and abs, which were bare. He had dark blonde hair with long, wild spike bangs. Lastly, his iris was a dark white color, and the shadow around his eyes was silver. Even the Saiyans were shocked when they saw what they were looking at. Naruto looked at Madara and didn't say anything, which made him feel uneasy for the first time. Sakura was shocked to see her teammate Naruto change. "Kakashi-sensei, what's going on? Naruto looks completely different," she asked. Kakashi said, "I'm just as confused as you were, Sakura." Bardock, Broly, and Paragus were all shocked to see how the majestic Saiyan had changed. Hinata was shocked and said, "And Naruto-kun." When the majestic Saiyan looked at her, it made the Hyuga heiress nervous, but that feeling went away when he gave her his signature fox grin. This made her smile. Madara landed on the ground and looked around to see that the Shinobi Alliance was getting ready for battle. He slammed his hand down, making an army of monsters that were part of the Kyubi. When Naruto saw the monsters, he narrowed his eyes and told Hinata, "Go back to your team." Hinata would have argued, but she trusted the Saiyan Shinobi, so she nodded and ran back to her team. The majestic Saiyan didn't move an inch as he kept staring at Madara like an animal stalking its prey. Behind him, the Shinobi force and the samurai drew their swords and got ready for battle as the creatures let out growls. The 5 cages had gotten back enough chakra to lead the army. Broly, Paragus, and Bardock weren't even sweating and were ready to fight. The air was filled with the sound of the wind. One of the creatures roared and charged along with the army. Soon, the 5 Kages and Shinobi army did the same, charging towards them as they cried out in battle with their weapons out and jutsus ready. Madara and Naruto both went flying when the two armies hit each other. Bardock shot Ki in every direction where he saw many enemies. One tried to sneak up on him, but he turned around, punched it in the gut, and shot it away. Another came at him, but he flew towards it and kicked it in the face, giving him a boost as he flipped back in the air and shot more Ki, killing more of them. Brawly was knocking down every enemy that came at him. He gave one a backhand that made it crash into a mountain, and when a big one came at him, the Saiyan did the same thing and hit it in the head with a right punch. He saw that his father was being overpowered, so he ran toward him as fast as he could, knocking down every enemy in his way. Just in time, he stopped an enemy who was trying to stab his father by ripping off its arm and swinging it so hard that it hit its head. Madara was barely able to avoid the onslaught of punches and kicks, but he fell for a fake left that turned out to be a right kick that hit him in the face. He was then hit with a reverse spin left kick that was blocked by the Shakuho, but still sent him flying back. Naruto flew towards him while dodging the seeking orbs with ease. He shot a barrage of ki, but Madara shielded himself in an iron-like defense ball. Not stopping yet, he continued to fire at it and flew in with a kick, sending it away. Not stopping, he teleported behind, kicking it away again. He repeated this many times, making Madara defense look like a pinball. The Sage Uchiha didn't realize it, but his defense slowly started to crack. Madara had his arms up to block it, but Naruto kept pushing down hard. He shouted as he broke through the guard and hit the Uchiha in the face with his heel, sending him through cliffs, huge boulders, and into a deep crater. Not done yet, Naruto flew down and punched Madara in the gut, making him cough up a big glob of blood. He kept punching the Sage Uchiha in the left and right sides of his body while pushing him through the ground. Finally, he gave an uppercut that sent the Kyubi Jinchuriki flying through the ground and into a rocky mountain, destroying it. Naruto flew into the air after bursting out of the ground. His normally serious face slowly turned into a smile, and he laughed with excitement as he looked at his hands. This new form. It feels much stronger than my MSSJ3, but what should I call it? He thought for a few seconds and came up with Majestic Super Saiyan 4. Madara pushed a boulder off of him and sat up. He was scratched and blood dripped from his mouth, but he wiped it away. One of his horns cracked and broke off. What monstrous strength! Unlike the Senju woman, this boy no doubt used pure physical strength. He stood back up to his feet. Naruto flew at insane speed around Madara in the sky until he became a blur, but that didn't bother the Uchiha, who was keeping track thanks to the Rinnegan. However, the Kyubi Jinchuriki vanished before appearing below, giving a hard low double rising kick to the chin, sending him high in the air. Not done yet, he cocked his right fist back and threw it, releasing a blasting force of wind which Madara blocked with the truth-seeking ball, turning it into a wall defense. Naruto disappeared thanks to his instant transmission. He appeared behind the Uchiha a short distance away and did the same move, which Madara didn't have time to block because it hit him in the back. He wasn't done yet, though, so he flew above and below and did the same attack. Madara felt trapped by the wind pressure, and he could only turn his head to see the Jinchuriki charging up and hitting him in the chest with a punch that probably broke a few rib bones and sent him crashing through more rocky cliffs and down into the ground. Naruto landed on a rock. "Get up," he said. "Is this really the so-called most powerful shinobi who has ever lived? Madara Uchiha, show me your real power. Show me who you are and what you have." He roared, and electricity crackled around his body as his ki flared up. Madara Uchiha burst out of the ground with a ring of chakra around him. He laughed and grinned excitedly, saying, "No one has ever made my blood pump faster than Hashirama did." "Okay, Naruto Uzumaki, let's dance," he told the majestic Saiyan as he flew toward him. Naruto dodged around the truth-seeking orbs and kicked one away back to the owner, who stopped it, but it was a distraction as Naruto appeared with a knee that was blocked by the Uchiha's Shakuho, but the force still blasted him up in the air. He went through hand signs. Sage Art. Shadow-style Thunderblast. He shot out purple electricity towards the Saiyan who just stood there and took the attack, which created a blast covering the area in smoke. Madara looked for any sign of movement, but Naruto suddenly appeared in front of him and tried to punch him, but an invisible force stopped him. The Uchiha then let out a purple laser beam that would have cut off Madara's head if he hadn't bent his head back. He then backflipped and kicked the Kyubi Jinchuriki in the chin, pushing him back. The Saiyan shinobi came up behind Naruto and gave him a vicious elbow shot to the spine that would have broken it if the sage hadn't strengthened his bones. Even so, he was still sent across the ground and crashed. Naruto dove down with another axe kick that Madara barely moved out of the way of as it hit the ground and made a crater with spider cracks. He then turned the shakuho into a double sharp-end staff and he fell back and coughed up blood. The Saiyan flew up and landed a right punch on the weapon, sending it through the Uchiha sage's body. He then kicked him away and sent him crashing to the ground. He wasn't done yet, so he did his signature move. Super Majestic Wave Spiral. He shouted. He fired the double-powered signature at the spot where the Uchiha had crashed, which caused a big explosion and so much light that both armies had to cover their eyes. The light soon went away, and the shinobi army was shocked to see nothing but a 100-foot deep hole. He quickly turned around and saw Madara coming out of a swirling portal. He was about to grab him, but he grabbed his wrist. "I'm going to break you," he said with a grin as he gave the wrist a hard squeeze. Like a Kit Kat bar. There was a brief pause in the air. What Madara started, but was cut off by a kick to the face that sent him flying. Naruto then came from behind and slammed his knee into the Uchiha's back, bending it badly, before throwing him into another cliff and destroying it. Madara got up from the rubble and coughed blood, but he didn't care. He called forth 4 clones that all made hand signs and blew out different elements at the Majestic Saiyan, who dodged each attack. Still not giving up, he used the Universe Pull, which caught the Majestic Saiyan off guard and pulled him into the attack, which blew up on contact. The Uchiha clones along with the real Madara waited for the smoke to clear. Suddenly in a blink of an eye, 4 ki blasts shot out the smoke destroying the clones. The Shinobi Saiyan appeared in front of the Uchiha, startling him. Putting his hand up to the chest, Naruto connected a 1-inch punch, making the sage gasp in pain. He then delivered a corkscrew spin kick, sending the Madara crashing into a giant boulder, destroying it. Naruto slowly flew toward the broken buildings and waited for Madara to get better. Soon, he saw Madara flying high in the air with blood dripping from the end of his mouth. He made a shadow ball in his hand and sent several of them into the air. Slowly, they started to eat up the ground below them, which soon turned into meteors. Even though Broly and Bardock can kill half of them, they were currently fighting the real Zetsu, who was using one of the Shodem's big wooden techniques to kill many other enemies and fight with the real Zetsu. He raised both of his arms, made 2 huge Rasen Shuriken, and threw them at the meteors. When they hit, they exploded with ki, killing many of the others. He made his signature move, adding the same power as before, and used it to destroy the falling asteroids. Before he could continue his attack, he was pulled into his mindscape. The word, mindscape. "Who is Kurama?" he said. Kurama shouted, "Finally. I've been trying to talk to you for the last few minutes." "I'm sorry." Naruto said, "I'm sorry. I've been focused on the battle." "I don't care what, but now that you're here. Why haven't you already finished Madara? I can feel that your power is 100 times stronger than his, and he has both the Jubi and the power of the sage inside of him." Naruto thought of his friends, teachers, and rival Goku. "I want to push Madara to his absolute best and limit. I want to show him how different I am from him. How I got the power of a god of destruction not through fear or force, but through hard work, dedication, friendship, and promises." He had fire in his eyes as he looked at the Kyubi. "It's time to show him how powerful I really am. I want to see how far I've come with my destroyer form. The last time I barely had control over it, but now that I've changed again, I'm sure I can." Kurama's eyes got narrow at this. From what he saw in the memories, this power was very, very dangerous. One mistake could destroy the whole universe, but it could also kill Madara easily, even though Naruto could win without it. But what did the kit say? This was meant to show how much stronger the Uchiha were than him, which is a very humiliating thing when you think about how strong Madara has become. He doesn't have a chance in hell. "Okay, Naruto, kick his behind," Kurama said, putting out his hand. Naruto punched Kurama's hand in return. The battlefield. Broly slammed his fist into the giant wooden Buddha with many arms that was controlled by the real Zetsu. The Buddha had thrown thousands of punches, but the Saiyan dodged each one. He stopped because all of the attacks were coming at him at once. Unfortunately, he opened his mouth and yelled, sending out a big green ki wave that destroyed them. Paragus told his son, "That's it, Broly. Soon, Prince Vegeta, I'll get my revenge," he said. Next, Bardock turned and threw his signature move at the head. Zetsu jumped off of it just as the attack hit, destroying half of the wooden statue as it fell and caught fire. He and Brawly looked up and saw a lot of meteors falling to the ground. Bardock changed into his Uzaru form and fired a blue ki wave from his mouth, and Brawly did the same. Together, they destroyed a lot of the falling asteroids. When they felt the earth shake, they stopped their attack and looked to see if Naruto was behind it. They saw that he was, but he was far away. Madara sent more shadow balls around the battlefield, but he saw the majestic Saiyan get into a horse stance out of the corner of his eye. Around the Jinchuriki, he could see a faint purple glow. Naruto was gritting his teeth and clenching his fists tighter while he kept getting stronger. Lightning struck all over the battlefield, hitting many enemies. The world began to shake. The majestic Saiyan yelled loudly in the air as the purple energy around him grew stronger. His arm muscles got a little bigger, and his body got firm and hard. With the mighty cry of a true majestic Saiyan warrior, the ground beneath him cracked and split open, making a fissure that let out a huge amount of energy that shot high into the sky, making a crater underneath while releasing a blast of wind that made many shinobi stand their ground from the blast. Unfortunately for the creatures, they were not spared and were sent flying. Slowly, the smoke cleared, revealing the majestic Saiyan in his MSSJ4 form. He was glowing a light dark purple, and a red swirling mark appeared on his chest. When he opened his eyes, they were glowing the same color, but a little brighter. He looked at Madara with a strong feeling of killer intent. As he looked up at the falling meteors, he made a ball of Hakai that was surrounded by a cyclone of wind. He then shot the attack, which hit one of the meteors and exploded, causing the attack to grow and wipe out the rest of the falling asteroids. Madara was shocked by what he had just seen. With just one move, the Kyubi Jinchuriki had stopped all of Madara's attacks from happening. On top of that, he couldn't feel this power. Naruto said in a calm voice, "Behold, Madara. This will be your last battle ever. This is the power of a god of destruction." Then he flared up the energy around him and disappeared. Madara looked back, but he didn't have time to block a punch that almost went through him. He flew across the battlefield like a ragdoll, but he didn't hit the ground because Naruto came up from below and kicked him in the face, sending him flying high into the air. Still not done, he came out of the sky and gave Madara a right cross elbow. This broke Madara's jaw and sent him flying into the ground, shaking the battlefield a little. Landing on the ground, he took a position while sending a huge amount of Hakai that had formed around him into the Kyubi's head, which roared and sent gusts of wind. Paragus said, "What power?" Brawly did not fear Naruto's power, but he respected it. Bardock would never in his whole life see the power of a god of destruction. When Naruto heard about them and how strong they were for the first time, he knew they were strong, but when he saw it for himself, it was amazing. Madara got out of the pile of rocks and saw the Uzumaki covered in Hakai in the shape of Kyubi's head. When the Uzumaki roared, a huge gust of wind came from the direction of the roar. This made him laugh. "I'll admit that you're strong. Of all the people who have fought me over the years, no one is stronger than you. I, Madara, declare you to be the strongest," he shouted with a wicked smile. With the Hakai-shaped Kyubi roaring, Naruto ran at Madara at supersonic speed. The sage got ready to block it with his Shikuho, but when the Kyubi Jinchuriki got close, the staff bent and broke. "Nani," said Madara, shocked that the Shikuho and the truth-seeking orbs had been destroyed, leaving him defenseless. Naruto made a fist with his right hand and cocked it back. "This is over now," he yelled and threw the punch that connected their bodies. Madara spat out a glob of blood while still being pushed by the force and crashed into a mountain, which soon exploded in a powerful blast and blinding light. The force was so strong that the Doton shinobi quickly built huge earth-like walls to protect themselves from it. If they hadn't added more chakra, the walls would have barely held up. The Saiyans flew back far enough to cover their faces from the strong wind gust and bright light. The energy slowly went away while the smoke went away, revealing Naruto, who was still covered in Hakai for a few seconds before it went away. Madara was in a crater. He went back to being himself, but he had serious injuries. The left side of his body was black as charcoal and sizzling as it burned. His arm, leg, and Rinnegan were all destroyed, leaving his eye completely black. Naruto looked at the defeated Uchiha and knelt down to touch his head. Then he started to look through his memories, which he had learned to do from the Namekian leader back on Namek. He shut his eyes and thought hard. He saw Madara when he was young. The fight between the Uchiha and Senju clans. His little brother's death. The creation of Konohagakure, the final battle between him and the Shodan, and finally the day he found and trained Obito and told him about Tsuki no Mi and something called Infinite Tsukuyomi. When he saw the Uchiha on the ground, he felt a little sorry for the shinobi. Madara was without a doubt the most powerful shinobi who ever lived. The only bad thing that happened to him was that he lost the war, which changed him into the person he is today. His whole universe has been stuck in the cycle of hate for too long. When the Majestic turned his head and looked back, he saw many shinobi and samurai from different countries working together to fight off the last of the enemies. All the hatred was put aside so they could fight for something bigger, for what they believe in. Madara's broken rib cage made her voice weak, and she coughed up some blood as she said, "So this is it. After planning for so many years to make this world a paradise, it's all gone." He didn't say anything. The Majestic Saiyan was confused when the Uchiha gave a small laugh. Madara gave him a look. "When I look at you, Naruto Uzumaki, I see not only Hashirama but also myself. Just like me, you have the power to make the whole world bow down to you, but you use it to protect the people you call friends in your village, Konohagakure, just like Hashirama did." Madara let out a light laugh as he felt his life ending. He said, "I call you Naruto Uzumaki, the next shinobi no Kami. All I ask is that you kill me." Naruto looked at Madara in a different way. Even though he did bad things, Madara fought for what he believed in, which the Saiyans can respect. Naruto did what Madara asked, but before he did, he had to do something first. He focused and took the Jubi from Madara, breaking it back into the 7 Bijus, which were all in a white orb. He stood up and put his right arm out, hand open. "Goodbye, Madara Uchiha. As a warrior, you have earned my respect, and I will never forget this," Naruto said. Hakai. Madara slowly turned purple and started to fall apart before he completely disappeared. He saw the Uchiha's face smile one last time as he disappeared. Madara Uchiha, who was once a legend, was gone. For good. The Majestic Saiyan heard a yell of anger and looked up to see Zetsu coming down with a sword, which he swatted away and then hit Zetsu in the gut with a fierce punch, sending him flying where Broly grabbed him by the throat and made it impossible for him to move. When Naruto saw his friends coming toward him, his SSJ-4 form dropped out of nowhere, leaving him shirtless but back to his regular form. He took a deep breath of relief and looked around to see the shinobi cheering for their win. Bardock said with a smile, "You son of a bitch, you did it." The Saiyan shinobi nodded, but before he said anything else, he looked at Zetsu struggling. He gave the orb to Bardock and went up to the creature. He told the plant-like creature, "Now you're going to tell me what you know." He spat in Naruto's face and said, "Go to hell." The man's answer didn't surprise the Saiyans, but what he did made Bardock and Paragus think of something. "He's gone." Naruto slowly wiped his mouth clean. It took all of his willpower not to kill the fool, but when he looked at Broly, a dark grin started to form. "Okay, if you won't talk, my friend here might be able to change your mind," he said, looking at Broly and nodding. The muscled Saiyan grabbed the former Akatsuki member's arms and pulled them back. "Okay, here's how it works. Either you tell me what I want to know or I'll just have to say one word to make you." "Broly," Naruto said with a smirk. Broly began to pull back on the man's arms, making him cry because he thought his arms were going to come off. Naruto told the Saiyan, "Stop." The Saiyan did what Naruto said. "Now then. On to my questions. Was Madara Uchiha just a pawn for you?" asked the Saiyan shinobi. This made Zetsu growl. Yes. He knew it, but he was sure there was more. "You were the one who told Madara about Tsuki no Mi, weren't you?" Zetsu didn't say anything. "Oh, you're staying quiet, huh? Well, my mind's kind of blank, and I can only think of one word right now. Broly," he joked. Now that Zetsu was pulling much harder, bones were popping, which made him cry out in pain. "I made Madara Uchiha work on Tsuki no Mi, and I started the war of hatred between the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan," he said. Naruto's hands were clenched in anger, but he stayed calm for now. "What about this plan was so important to you?" Zetsu knew he had said too much, so he tried very hard to get away. But the word "tried" meant he wasn't even close to getting away. Naruto smiled and said, "So that's how it's going to be, huh? You know what that means. Broly, rip the arm off of one of those jerks." Behind the mask, Zetsu was terrified, but before he could do anything, Brawly quickly ripped the right arm off, making it cry out in pain. When other shinobi saw this, they jerked and held their arms, but Bardock and Paragus were used to this kind of violence. Now answer me. Naruto glared at him and sent a huge amount of killer intent. Zetsu was afraid for his life and told Kaguya Otsutsuki that he came from the Jubi, which was the god tree. Kaguya Otsutsuki, who was an angel, was sent to look into it. He told her more about how she was the key to bringing the Jubi back to life. As she looked at the tree, she saw a fruit and, for some reason, ate it. She was soon filled with energy called chakra, but it also made him. Even though Naruto didn't move, his destroyer energy seemed to be leaking out. Zetsu kept talking about how she had two sons, Hagoromo and Hamura Otsutsuki, who grew up to be much stronger than their mother, which scared him. Even the fact that they had chakra didn't help. When they came after her, he had no choice but to have her fuse with the Jubi. However, she was soon stopped by her sons, who separated her and the Jubi, putting Kaguya in the moon and splitting the Jubi into 9 bijus while he ran away. Once he was done, the other Saiyans looked at the shinobi Saiyan, who couldn't see his face because his bangs were covering his eyes. He finally turned into his MSSJ form and glared up at the sky. He grabbed him by the throat and threw him high into the air. With his right hand, he made a Hakai ball and threw it at supersonic speed, hitting the now one-armed bastard. Zetsu's screams could be heard all over the battlefield, which shocked the entire alliance force. Naruto let out a sigh and sat back. In the end, the war was over. He looked up at the moon and said, "It's all over now." Almost. While concentrating, he switched to Sage mode and found a faint ki and chakra. He looked at the Bardock. He told him, "I'll be back," and then left with his IT. Bardock raised an eyebrow and asked himself why he was going there. There's a moon. Naruto landed on the moon and started looking for the Ki and chakra. It took him 5 minutes, but he found the source. When he looked down, he saw a small mark that looked like a seal. He got on his knees and lifted one finger, making a speck of Hakai, which broke the seal. When the moon started shaking, a crack opened up, and a beautiful woman came out of it. She had double D-cup breasts, horns that looked like rabbit ears, white eyes like the Hyuga clan, pale skin, long white hair that flowed, and ruby red lipstick. She wore a beautiful high-collared Han kimono with tomo running down the middle and around the edges of the dress. Floating next to her was a gold scepter with a red gem on it. She slowly opened her eyes and gasped as she got her breath back. She looked around, not sure where she was. She saw Naruto and narrowed her eyes. She quickly grabbed her scepter and got into a defensive stance. "Who are you, and where are my sons?" she asked. Naruto was confused and thought she would know about Zetsu. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the god of destruction of Universe Zero." Kaguya was shocked. This boy was a god of destruction? It seemed like a joke, but when she looked into his eyes, she saw the power behind them. She let go of her stance and calmed down. "Hi, I'm Kaguya." Naruto said, "An angel I know." She raised an eyebrow, and then he told her about the Jubi, how Zetsu controlled her, and how her sons fought against her and sealed her away. Kaguya's body went numb as she floated down. She fell to her knees and cried, angry that some jerk had used her and sad that her sons had sealed her, though she doesn't blame them. Naruto walked up to the angel and gave her a hug because he felt bad for her. The angel was shocked, but she felt better and cried into the majestic Saiyan's chest as he lovingly rubbed her back. After a few minutes, she started to calm down, but she stayed in the majestic Saiyan's arms. She blushed when she felt his muscles, and she couldn't help but rub his abs, which made her mouth water. Naruto felt her hand on his abs and felt them move down, but he broke the hug before it went any further. She got her bearings and blushed. "I'm so sorry," she said, but Naruto told her it was okay. Naruto gave her his hand and said, "Hang on to me, and I'll take you back to my universe." She took it slowly. Naruto put 2 fingers on his head, and the 2 of them disappeared back to the ground. Universe O. A lot of shinobi thanked Bardock, and Brawly was surrounded by kunoichi who were feeling his muscles. He didn't mind, but he was confused. Naruto came out with Kaguya by his side. The shinobi in the crowd cheered and yelled, thanking him. Naruto felt a little embarrassed and rubbed the back of his head. He heard his name called and turned around, but he ran into a certain Hyuga heiress. She looked up at the majestic Saiyan, who smiled at her. Seeing her chance, she leaned in and kissed him, which surprised the crowd and made Sakura and Kaguya jealous. Neji and Ko stopped Hiashi from killing the now war hero, which made Tsunade and the rest of Konoha 11 smile. As soon as Bardock cleared his throat, the moment was over. Naruto looked up and saw the Saiyan holding the white orb with the Bijus inside. He broke away from the hug and walked over to the orb while looking at the Bijus who were resting. So what happens now? The Saiyan soldier asked. Naruto thought about what to do next. He decided to take the Bijus and knew what to tell the cages about them. Well, I'm going to talk to the cages. When I'm done, I'll let you know what our next step is, he told Kaguya. After 5 days, Konohagakure. Naruto was wearing his father's coat. He was wearing the same outfit as his father, but he had silver wristbands and a silver sash around his waist. His top was a white GI shirt with no sleeves that showed off his muscled chest. He was on the Hokage monument on his father's head, looking out over the village. Days had passed since the war ended, and many people in the village had given him a hero's welcome. He even got to talk to Konohamaru and his friends, including Iruka. Some of the cages, especially Ei and Onoki, want to know what happened to the Bijus when they got to the Hokage's office to meet with the other 5 cages. After a long verbal battle and a little show of power, both cages agreed to a peace treaty alliance, which made Tsunade happy. Gaara gave a small smile. After the meeting, Mei the Mizukage stopped him from leaving and gave him a deep kiss, which surprised the Saiyans went to his favorite ramen shop and ate there, saying that Ichiraku's dish was the best ever. They then went to the armory and asked Tenten and her father to make them some armor, which Bardock insisted on helping with. 2 days later, the armors were ready, but Brawly's was hard to fit in because of his size, but Bardock found a way for it to stretch just like his old one. Bardock is wearing the same outfit that Brawly and Paragus wore in the movie DBZ, the father of Goku. He even took Hinata on a short date, which was nice. He found Sakura, who he wanted to talk to. They hung out and talked about their old missions and team memories. Silence hung in the air until she broke it and told him how she felt about him and how sorry she was for all the crap she put him through, including that stupid promise. She started to cry. When he saw this, he gently wiped away the tear and smiled, saying that he had forgiven her. But he didn't know how he felt about her. He had wanted her for so long and now he had the chance, but he couldn't help but think about how they had been teammates for so long. He sighed and looked at Sakura. He said he didn't know how he felt and needed time to think about it, which she agreed with. They put that aside and continued to hang out. When Naruto heard footsteps, he turned around to see Kaguya walking toward him. After he set her free, she kept her distance at first, but as time went on, she started to feel more at ease when she was near him. "Why are you here?" Kaguya asked. "I'm just looking at the village. When I was a kid, I used to come up here to watch the sunset. It was nice and relaxing." When Kaguya looked at the village as the sun was setting and the sky was turning orange, she had to admit that it was a beautiful sight. "I'm curious about Whis and Beerus sensei," he asked himself. When Kaguya heard the name, she looked at him with wide eyes. "You've met my brother and Beerus?" asked Kaguya. Naruto nodded and told them how he found out about his majestic Saiyan heritage, met Whis and Beerus, and was chosen by Zeno to be a candidate for Universe Zero God. Kaguya was shocked by this. She knew Zeno-sama was picky about his god, but she saw how powerful he was and knew it was true, especially since Zeno-sama said so. "Well, then," she said with a smirk, "why don't you show me your power? I haven't fought in 1,000 years." When he heard this, the majestic Saiyan was surprised. The only angel he had ever fought was Whis, and he couldn't even land a hit on him. This could be a chance for him to see how far his training has brought him. He grabbed her shoulder as they left and said, "Let's do it." Planet Sadala is now known as Planet Uzu. Naruto was currently sleeping in his fancy room on a big bed. It's been a few months since he left his world. Even though Konohagakure was sad to see their hero go, they knew he had to do what he had to do. He said goodbye to his friends, his sensei, and his surrogate mother, who told him to stay safe. As the Saiyans and Kaguya were being teleported back to Namek, they saw Jin talking to 2 aliens they had never seen before. One was a woman with green skin and white hair, and the other was a man with orange skin and a dark green hat. Jin ran up to her husband and gave him a tight hug when she saw that the group had returned with her husband. Bardock smiled a little when he saw his beautiful wife, but he looked over to the newcomers, which the female Saiyan saw, and introduced them to Chilai and Lemo, who both used to be in Frieza's army. When the Saiyan father heard this, he didn't like it, but Naruto told him to give them a chance to talk. Sheila started to explain that she only joined to get away from the people who were after her after she stole a galactic patrol spaceship. Lemo had been a rearguard veteran for King Cold, but they left to find a new life when word got out that they had died. Bardock kept his distance because he didn't fully trust them, but Naruto agreed. During his time on Earth, he asked Kaguya if planet Sadala was still there. To his surprise, it was still there, but it was full of dangerous aliens that he was able to get rid of. With a snap of her finger, the angel quickly fixed the broken buildings and many technologies. When he met Kai of Universe Zero, the months got more interesting. In a flashback, Naruto and Bardock were in the middle of a fight, throwing punches and kicks back and forth. The Saiyan warrior caught Naruto's leg and laughed, but his smile broke when the majestic Saiyan jumped and hit him in the back of the head with an enziguri kick, making him flip over and land on his back. Lemo Brawley heard the sound and said, "Ew." Paragus was watching the fight. Jine, Kaguya, and Shilai were chatting. When Naruto felt an energy he didn't know coming, he helped Bardock get back on his feet. He turned around and saw a blue and red ball slowly float down from the sky. The guys were on guard when they saw this, but he told them to calm down. The girls came over, but all but Kaguya, who was strong and stood by Naruto's side, kept their distance. The orbs began to come together and form a floating human shape. It turned out to be a man with long, white, spiked hair, a goatee, pale skin, clear horns, and Patara earrings. He had a Rinnegan on the left and a Byakugan on the right, which surprised Naruto. On his forehead, he had something that looked like a Sharingan but had 9 tomos instead of 3. Kaguya gasped. Even though the key looked different, she knew it was him. Hagoromo. When Kaguya saw her first child, she felt tears coming to her eyes. The man who was said to be Hagoromo smiled and nodded. "Mother, it's great to see you again." Kaguya didn't hug him, but she said, "It's so good to see you again, my son." "I'm sorry," but he put his hand on her shoulder and stopped her. "Mom, it wasn't your fault, so don't say you're sorry," he said with a small smile. When Naruto saw this, he smiled and was happy for his angel. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Jine smile sadly. Bardock knew this and gave her a hug from behind to make her feel better. Once Hagoromo was done talking to Kaguya, he turned to the majestic Saiyan who was coming over to him and bowed. "Naruto-sama, let me introduce myself. My name is Hagoromo, or it used to be. I'm also known as the Rakuto Sennin, but I'm also the Supreme Kai of Universe Zero," Hagoromo told Naruto. This shocked the Saiyan shinobi. "I would also like to thank you for defeating the Jubi. When my brother and I sealed our mother in the moon and I split the Jubi into the 9 bijus, the cost was that my life force was draining quickly. I would have died if my brother Hamaru hadn't suggested that we join together, but because of our chakra, the side effect would put me into a coma until the Jubi woke up again." "How did you get to be the Supreme Kai Ago-kun?" The angel asked her son, whose cheeks turned red at the childhood nickname. "Whis called me because he couldn't reach you. He told me that Zeno-sama had made me the Supreme Kai. I was shocked and came to tell you, but..." He didn't say what he meant, but Kaguya knew what he meant. "Then what should I call you if you say your name is no longer Hagoromo?" Naruto asked. The man nods. "Yes, I'm now called Hagora," the man said. End of flashback. Hagora offered to teach Naruto the way of the Sage of the Six Paths, and Naruto gladly took him up on the offer. Once he figured out how to combine his Senjutsu mode and Kyubi mode, which unlocked the Sage Six Paths mode, it wasn't as hard as he thought at first. The hardest part was getting to the Sage's true power. Hagora told him that once he reached his full potential, the Sage's true power would be his. After so many weeks of hard work, he finally reached that potential and unlocked the real power of the Sage of the Sixth Path. He had mastered every element and sub-element, and the bijus gave him their elemental powers with their permission. Even though these powers were strong, he knew they wouldn't be enough to beat the other universes in the tournament. He tried to combine his majestic SSJ4 power with the Sage power, but that didn't work. He didn't give up, though, and tried to stay in his SSJ4 for longer, but he could only do that for 5 minutes. He had an idea and said, "MSSJ1, if he keeps training and stays long for each form, maybe he'll be able to stay long for the last form." As he was still sleeping, a big explosion shook his whole room, waking him up. He woke up slowly, yawning and stretching his arms and white tail. Yes, he did have a tail again. It had grown back in the past few weeks. He has felt a lot stronger since then than he did before. He got out of bed and put on the same clothes he was wearing when he left Konoha, but without the coat. He went to his balcony and rubbed his eyes to clear his vision. Bardock and Kaguya were fighting, and Kaguya was blocking each attack and easily dodging Bardock's ki blasts. Since he found out how strong the angel was, the Saiyan veteran has been fighting her all the time. Naruto has been thinking about asking the angel to help him train the other for the tournament, even though he doesn't know what the rules are yet. He hasn't heard anything about the tournament, so he'll have to ask Kaguya if she can teleport him to Zeno. A crash made him lose his train of thought, and Bardock fell into a small crater. He was able to get back up though. Naruto could tell that the Saiyan was really Goku's father because he was always ready to fight new powerful fighters and he would never give up. He saw Chilai with Jin, who was keeping an eye on Chilai's husband. Even though the Saiyan woman didn't look strong, he could tell that she has a lot of power that she doesn't even know about. Naruto looked at Saiyan Broly and his son Paragus, who were watching the fight. He gave Paragus a small frown and thought back to what they had talked about. Still, he didn't believe the jerk. He looked at the muscled Saiyan and was amazed by how strong he was, especially after seeing him fight in the war. The only problem was that the power he showed against the revived Nanabi Jinchuriki was too much for him to handle. He found out from Paragus that Broly had tapped into the power of an Uzaru, but instead of turning into a giant ape, he kept his normal form. This made him much deadlier, but it also made him blinded with anger. He decided to let them know he was there and flew to them. Bardock kept attacking the angel, but the angel kept moving out of the way of each attack. The warrior threw a right punch, but she blocked it with the scepter and stabbed it into his chest, making him fall hard. The guys were impressed by the angel's strength, while the girls were blown away by her skills, especially Jin, who used to be in her husband's group but decided to become a cook because she didn't have the motivation or drive to be a fighter. Now that she had seen her husband fight again, she felt something bubbling up inside of her. She stopped what she was doing when she saw Bardock crash. She ran over to see how he was doing. "Well, it looks like everyone is awake," a voice said, and everyone turned to see Naruto floating down and Bardock sitting up. "I'm glad you're motivated to train, because we'll all be doing that soon." "Good," Bardock said with a weak smile. He tried to stand up, but Jin pushed him back down with a fierce look. "As soon as your body heals," she glared at her husband, which made him grumble. The guys laughed, but when the Saiyan gave them a look, they stopped. "Well, I need to talk to Kaguya while you take a short break," he told the angel. The angel nodded, and they went somewhere to talk. Once, Kaguya spoke when they were far away. "What's the matter, Naruto-sama?" He groaned. "Kaguya, I told you to call me Naruto, not Sama. Anyway, I was going to ask you if you know how we can go see Zeno." Kaguya's eyes get big. "You want to visit Zeno-sama?" she asked. The boy nods. "Yeah, he hasn't talked about wanting that tournament in a while, so I was wondering if I could stop by and ask him about it." Kaguya had no idea what to do. She was both nervous and afraid. She was nervous because she was going to see her father, and she was afraid for Naruto because he was going to meet Zeno-sama. She asked, "Are you sure, Naruto-kun?" "Yeah," he says, nodding and smiling. She sighed and hoped she wouldn't be sorry. She used her scepter to tap the ground, and the two disappeared. The Grand Zeno Palace. Both of them had shown up in the hall. "Wow, this place looks great," Naruto said. Kaguya nodded and thought back to the last time she was here. As they kept looking around, Naruto felt like someone was watching him. Kaguya didn't know who it was, but when they turned, they saw the Grand Priest. The Grande Priest was shocked to see his daughter, an angel he knew well, for the first time in 1,000 years. He walked up to her and asked, "Kaguya?" She kept her face down because she didn't have the courage to look at her father. Slowly, she turned her head up and saw him. "Father," she bowed, "I'm back." "You've been gone for so many years, where have you been?" he asked. She was nervous, but she took a deep breath and started to tell her story about the God Tree and eating the chakra fruit to cure her illness. Naruto didn't know this, but Zetsu had sealed her away and was controlling her, but Naruto had freed her. She bowed when she was done telling her story. "Father, please forgive me. I didn't mean to disobey you, but... No, I should be sorry. I try to protect you because I didn't want to lose you the way I lost your mother." "I'm just glad you're safe," the Grand Priest said with a small smile that made her smile back. "Naruto-san of Universe Zero," he said with a slight bow, "thank you for helping my daughter." Naruto rubbed the back of his head and said, "It's nothing really, I just thought she deserved another chance." He nods and looks at his daughter. "Anyway, it's good to see you again, daughter, but I'm sure you want to talk about something else." Naruto spoke up and said, "Actually, I asked Kaguya to bring me here because I want to ask Zeno-sama when that tournament he told me about will happen." The Grand Priest nodded. "Yes, Zeno-sama told me about this a while ago, but my majesty hasn't said anything about it yet," he told Naruto. "Think I could ask him?" Naruto asked, and Kaguya took a big breath. "Follow me if you want to talk to him," he told them. He led them through a huge hall with beautiful pillars and up to two huge gates that slowly opened to let them pass. When they got to the throne room, Zeno-sama was sitting in a chair playing a game that involved destroying planets, but he looked bored. "Zeno-sama, you have a guest," the priest said, bowing. Zeno looked up and saw two faces he didn't know. After a few seconds of thinking, he stood up and floated to Naruto with his bodyguards behind him. Naruto didn't feel scared at all when he saw the Omni-King in front of him. "I remember you," the alien child said with a small smile. "You were the strong Saiyan who fought in that tournament with Goku." Naruto laughed a little and said, "I'm glad you remember." The Omni-King turned to Kaguya, who was feeling nervous. "My lord, let me introduce you to another one of my children, my youngest daughter Kaguya," her father said. "She has been gone for a while and just found out about the changes." Zeno kept staring at the angel with a blank expression, but that soon turned into a smile. "Oh, yes, I remember. You were a little kid." The angel turned pink. "I don't mean to be rude, Zeno-sama, but I was wondering when the tournament will start." "I'm looking forward to it," Naruto said. "Oh, I almost forgot about that," said Zeno. "Well, it's a good thing I came here to ask about it, so what do you say?" "Let's have the best tournament there's ever been," Naruto said with a big smile. Zeno had a few seconds to think. "Let's do it, yes." Naruto shouted, "Okay, you're awesome, and I promise you won't regret this." Everyone except the Grand Priest sighed in relief, but Zeno laughed at this. "Very well, sire. I'll go tell the Supreme Kais of each universe about the tournament as soon as the date and other important details are set," he said. "Good, then I and the others have a lot of training to do." "Thanks again, Zeno." Naruto put his fist up, which made the guards nervous. Kaguya saw this and was ready to protect Naruto. The Grand Priest looked at the scene with interest. Zeno seemed to be puzzled. "When you bump your fist into mine, it means hello or goodbye," Naruto said. Zeno looked at his hand and slowly reached out, knocking Naruto's fist back. He smiled and laughed. Everyone felt better again, and Kaguya took a deep breath. Back on the angel side, he nods and tells her to go home, which she does. "See you soon," Naruto said, and he and his angel went away. The planet Uzu. He called for a meeting when he got back to his planet. When Naruto showed up with Kaguya, everyone stopped talking because they didn't know what was going on. Naruto said, "Okay, good, everyone's here. A couple of hours ago, I went to the Omni-King and asked about the tournament. Luckily for me, I reminded him that the tournament will happen, but the day and details haven't been decided yet." "About time," said Bardock with a smile. He leaned back against a boulder with his arms crossed. Jine rested her head on his shoulder and held her husband's arm. He said, "This gives us a lot of time to train. I've talked to Kaguya, and she's agreed to help me train you. Each of you has a power deep inside you, and it's our job to help you find it." Jine put up her hand to say something. Naruto asked, "Yes, Jine?" "Naruto, I'm not a fighter. I'm just a cook. I'll just get in the way," she said with sadness. "Don't say that, Jine. You're stronger than you think you are, and I've known that since the day you joined my team," Bardock told him. She tried to argue, but... "Jine, let me tell you something. I know a girl who was shy and always thought she was weak because her clansmen said she wasn't strong enough to be heiress. But she proved them wrong by becoming a strong kunoichi and not giving in to their ignorance. If she can do it, so can you." Jine looked down and thought about Planet Vegeta. She had been in Bardock's group for a few missions, but compared to his other teammates, she felt like a weakling. Her mind went to her youngest son, Kakarot. She remembered that the day she gave birth to him was the best day of her life. When she found out that he only had a power level of 2, she was sad. She wasn't disappointed in her son, but in herself. Her power level was only 110, while Raditz's was 70 when he was born. Raditz was just like his father, but Kakarot was more like her. Hearing this, her son not only grew up to be a strong fighter, but he also became the legendary Super Saiyan and took revenge for his people. Can she get strong like her son and husband? She felt a hand on her shoulder and turned to see Bardock comforting her. You can do it, Jine. I'll be right there with you, he said. She was always surprised by how much her husband had changed since he came back to life. Even though he still had his old attitude sometimes, she still loved him that way. In fact, it made things more exciting in the bedroom. She blushed but shook it off. She gave Naruto a look. Okay, I'll work out with you. He gave a happy smile when he heard that. Good. Get ready. You all have until tomorrow, Naruto said, and he and Kaguya started walking away. Naruto told Kaguya, I need you to make gravity times 100 seals for their bodies. Make sure that when they get used to the gravity, it goes up by another 100. She nods to say, yes, Naruto-kun. While you finish that, I also need you to find some strong fighters in the other universes, he said. It will be done, she told him. Alright, then. Hell training starts, Naruto said with an evil grin. Kaguya felt a chill down her spine, and she liked it. After 3 weeks, training ground. Come on, even my dead grandmother could do better than that. MSSJ Naruto yelled as he attacked Bardock, who was barely avoiding his punches. A kick to the chest caught him off guard and sent him flying across the field. You can do better, come on, he yelled. Bardock clenched his teeth, stood back up, and charged. The Saiyans have been training for 2 weeks now. He remembered telling them about the gravity seals and how they would help speed up the ship if they wore them. Bardock thought it was a joke at first, but now he has to pay for it. As time went on, Bardock got better much more quickly than he did at first. He could now handle the gravity of 600. He watched from around the corner as his clone attacked Jine with his power pole, but she was able to fight back easily. He couldn't believe how quickly Jine had gotten better. She was almost a genius at fighting now, as her gravity level was at 400. Last time he saw his angel, it was fighting the big Saiyan. Broly had already gotten used to the gravity seal, which wasn't a big surprise. He had Kaguya add a few hundred more, bringing the level of gravity to 1000. Broly attacked from above, and Kaguya just managed to avoid him. Still not done, he attacked with a fast left hook, which she blocked, and then a quick jumping spin right kick, which made her backflip and run back. Bardock saw that the majestic Saiyan was distracted, so he charged at full speed and threw a kick that would have hit if Naruto hadn't blocked it. He then kicked the Saiyan in the stomach, which knocked the air out of it. Come on, you know you can do better. Naruto yelled and threw him back a long way. Bardock landed, but when he did, he fell to his knees and coughed hard. He took deep breaths, and sweat ran down his forehead. He started to get angry about this because, even though he had gotten faster and stronger, he could never hit Naruto. Naruto wasn't going to stop, even if he were a god. He stood up and charged again, this time with even more energy than before. He ran into the majestic Saiyan and tried to hit him with an elbow. The majestic Saiyan blocked it, but he wasn't done. He went for a knee, which was also blocked. Taking advantage of the chance, he made a key ball and was about to blast it when a palm thrust to the chest knocked him back and made him fall to the ground coughing blood. Almost had me there, but not good enough, Naruto said. Bardock was out of breath and getting angry with himself. Even after weeks of training, he didn't feel like he had gotten better. He thought about how he and Jine had sent Kakarot to Earth with Kakarot, how he had failed to stop Frieza and how his friends and home had been destroyed. When he got angry, his body started to shake, and he clenched his fists so hard that his nails cut into his palms and made them bleed. I won't let it happen again, Bardock said as he slowly stood back up. The planet started to shake a little, which got Broly and Jine's attention. The Saiyan warrior was surrounded by static electricity, and his hair changed from black to gold in an instant. I am a warrior from Saiyan. Naruto laughed when he saw Bardock start to change. He could do it. Bardock kept getting stronger. I am Bardock, and my son Kakarot is my son. In his mind, he saw a picture of Goku as an adult. He threw his arms out and yelled loudly as energy shot out of his body. His black hair and brown tail turned golden. Be Bardock. Jine was shocked when she saw that her husband had become the legendary Super Saiyan. Broly and Kaguya stopped when they saw Bardock's SSJ form. Kaguya gave a small smile because she knew Bardock would want to fight her soon. Brawly was amazed because he had never seen anything like it. Well, damn him, he really did it. Naruto made a funny face. He told him, "Congratulations, you're now a Super Saiyan." Bardock looked at his hands and felt a surge of power going through him. He then looked at Naruto and disappeared before reappearing in front of him. This caught the destroyer off guard, and Naruto gave him a hard kick that sent him flying. He came up behind Naruto and gave him a spinning corkscrew kick, which Naruto just barely blocked, sending him skittering across the ground but still standing. Both fighters ran at each other and hit and kicked each other hard. As they attacked each other more quickly, Bardock felt like he was winning the battle. Unfortunately, Naruto grabbed his arms as he tried to get away, which made him realize he was wrong. He tightened his grip on the wrists and said, "That was good, Bardock. But I'm still very far ahead of you." He hit Bardock in the chest with a front dropkick. Bardock went flying and hit the ground hard. He was knocked out and went back to his base form. Jin ran to check on her husband, but Naruto's clone hit her with a staff, forcing her to do a backflip. "Don't let your mind wander. In the tournament, you'll have to deal with this." He said this as he kept attacking. The Saiyan woman lost her focus for a second, and when the staff hit her in the gut and dropped her to her knees, she felt like her breath was knocked out of her. The majestic Saiyan said, "You can keep going, come on." Jin felt helpless because she knew she was wasting her time. She wasn't a Saiyan warrior, and she didn't belong in this tournament. Neither her husband nor her son were as strong as she was. She saw herself holding a newborn Kakarot in her arms when he was born. She felt like she was on fire. Her youngest son had done so much without her help that it hurt. She started to feel anger that she hadn't felt in a long time. Frieza was the only one to blame for it because he broke up her family. Bardock came back to himself and saw that his wife was shaking and letting out her energy. It was amazing to see how strong it was getting. Naruto was surprised when Jin's energy went up and he heard electricity crackling around her. He also saw that her hair and tail began to shine gold. There's no way she's really. The answer he got stopped him in his tracks. The female Saiyan let out a loud cry, and energy shot out of her body, making a small crater below her. When the smoke cleared, Jin could be seen. Her hair was almost spiked up like Bardock's, but it was a little longer and straighter. Bardock was blown away. He gave a weak smile when he saw that his wife had also become a Super Saiyan. "I was sure that she could do it." Naruto was about to say something, but Jin rushed at him with a punch that Naruto blocked with his staff. She kept attacking him with lefts and rights. She gave him a hard kick that sent him far down to the ground. Her hands were spread out to make a pink basketball-sized orb. She yelled, "Mother Nature," and fired the attack at the clone, who looked up and saw it. When he put the staff out and quickly spun it around, an explosion shook the area. Jin waited until the smoke cleared, which was a mistake because the staff shot out, hit her hard in the chest, and sent her flying. She would have crashed if Bardock hadn't caught her. After being knocked out, she got up and went back to being herself. Naruto's clone walked forward with the real Naruto by his side. The real Naruto gave the staff to the clone and thanked it, making the clone disappear. "I'm surprised you both went SSJ. I thought you would soon, but Jin. Guess I was right about her, she was almost a genius when it came to fighting." Naruto made a remark. Bardock nodded to show that he agreed, but he didn't take his eyes off of his wife. The majestic Saiyan felt his energy go up, and he saw Brawly growling, which meant he was getting angry. He shouted as his energy turned a light green gold color and his pupils turned yellow. He charged and hit her with a right, which she blocked. The fight went into the air as Brawly kept attacking with heavy punches and kicks. The three people below heard and saw the shockwave. "His power is getting stronger by the second, and I don't think my SSJ can beat him." Bardock was shocked by how strong Brawly was. "At this level, I would definitely have to go up to MSSJ 3 to beat him," Naruto said. Paragus showed up to watch his son fight the angel. "Yes, my son, grow stronger. We will get our own back." Brawly came up behind Kaguya and tried to kick her, but she blocked it with a kick of her own and sent the huge Saiyan crashing to the ground. Hagora had shown up in front of them before the battle began. "Hey, Hagora, I haven't heard from you in a while." Naruto said hello. The Kai gave a friendly nod. "Yes, I have been looking at the universe. Since the last time I saw it, it has changed a lot." Kai's face showed that he was upset to the Saiyan shinobi. Is there something on your mind? He asked. The Kai said, I have had a feeling, a terrible one. Naruto's face turned serious when he heard this. Bardock raised an eyebrow, and Kaguya wondered what was wrong with her son. Brawly had no idea what was happening. I felt a change in the air, and I think someone or something is messing with time, says the Kai. Both the Saiyans and the Angel were taken aback. How is that possible? Messing with time is against the law, and only the Omni-King, the Angels, or a Supreme Kai can do it because they have the time ring, Kaguya asked. Is it time? Naruto asked a question. A ring that lets the person who wears it go back in time, she said. Do you recognize that person? Asks Naruto. Hagora said, I talked to all the Supreme Kais, and they all feel the same way. He looked at Kaguya. Talk to Whis about this. He might know something about it. She nods and calls Whis with her scepter, but nothing happens for a few seconds. She bowed and said, sorry, Naruto-kun. He said it was fine and waved it off. He looked at the guys and Jin, whose husband had just woken her up and put her down. Okay, guys, training is over for today. It looks like we're going to Universe 7, he said. When the Saiyans heard that their son was in the universe, they couldn't believe it. They were finally going to meet him. Paragus knew that this could be the end, but he had to wait until the tournament so that his son could beat Prince Vegeta. For now, he will just watch. We're about to see Kakarot at last. Bardock, will he remember us? She looked at her husband with a frown, but he gave her a small smile that made her feel better. I know that he will. He gave his wife a kiss on the forehead, which made her blush. Kaguya, please take us to Universe 7, Naruto said. Take this before you go. Hagora gave the silver time ring to Naruto. It's a clock, you might need it. Naruto gave him a thank you nod and put the ring on. To the Universe 7. She tapped her scepter on the grass, and the bugs lit up and then went away. After an hour, Universe 7 was close to Bulma's house. Naruto and Kaguya walked over to the house with the rest of the group. Jin said with a smile, this place actually looks nice, as she watched the sun go down. So this is Earth, huh? It doesn't look like a bad place to live. Bardock looked at everything around him. As Naruto got closer to the house, he saw Trunks sitting in a lawn chair on the porch. Hey there. Naruto called out, which made Trunk look over to see who it was. Hey, it's you, you're that other Saiyan guy. Trunks thinking back. Yeah, and your kid is Vegeta's kid. Trunks? Naruto made a guess. He agrees. I need to talk to your mom, is she here by any chance? He inquired. Yeah, hold that one. Trunk ran into the house again. Naruto waited for the couple of Saiyans to walk to him. Who was that? Bardock asked. That's Trunks, who is Vegeta's son, said Naruto. Bardock's jaw dropped when he heard that Prince Hardass Vegeta had a child. Jin asked, who's the mother? A woman from Earth named Bulma is a brilliant scientist and also the wife of Vegeta. Bardock's jaw dropped even more. He was even married to a person from Earth. Bulma came out of the house. Thank God, Naruto. She stopped in the middle of a sentence when she saw the Saiyan couple. And Naruto, why are all these Saiyans here? The woman with blue hair asked. She had a bad time with them all, starting with Goku's brother, that Nappa guy, even though her husband thought he had changed. Don't worry, my friends are there. This is Kaguya Whis' youngest sister, and these are Bardock and Jin, Goku's parents. Bulma's eyes looked like they were about to pop out of her head. She took a close look at the couple and saw that the man who looked just like Goku except for the scar on his cheek was, in fact, his father. When she looked at Jin, she saw similarities. She kind of thought that Kaguya would look like her older brother when she saw her, but she wasn't going to question it. I'm sorry about that. I've met a couple of Saiyans before, and they weren't very nice, she said with an embarrassingly small laugh. Jin ignored it. No, it's fine. My son hasn't been a problem, I'm sure. Bulma laughed as she remembered the time she and Goku went on an adventure to find the Dragon Balls. He hasn't been a problem. In fact, he has helped save the Earth many times, she said. The Saiyan mother was happy and smiled. Bardock asked, where's Kakarot? Naruto was going to ask about Whis, too, but then they saw a machine fall and crash to the ground. The Saiyans, like Bulma and her son, rushed to see what was going on. Papa. Trunks ran faster and got to where he was. Jin and Bardock saw Kakarot, and Jin's motherly instincts made her run over to see how he was doing. Naruto saw the wound on Vegeta and knew it was made by a blade, but not just any blade. He said, "Let's get these guys inside and treat them." When Paragus saw how bad Vegeta was, it made him angry. "I won't let my revenge be taken away. Whoever this person is, they are probably strong, but Broly will take care of them." He watched as the people brought the hurt Saiyans to the house. He went after him, and Broly went after him. Planet Kai Universe, Episode 10. Gawasu, the Supreme Kai of Universe 10, was in his compound watching Naruto and Hit fight on TV. Gawasu's apprentice Zamasu came in and brought them a cup of tea. The apprentice asked the master, "Gawasu-sama, are you watching GodTube again?" The Supreme Kai surprised his apprentice by saying, "I'm thinking I might become a GodTuber," but the Kai laughed. "Ignore the jokes and look at this fight," Gawasu told his apprentice, pointing to the TV where Naruto was fighting Hit. The Kai's trainee asked, "Who is that Gawasu-sama?" Gawasu was told, "Whis-sama told me that the young man's name is Naruto Uzumaki, and that he will be the god of destruction for a universe that has been forgotten for a long time." The fight went on until Naruto went MSSJ2 and came back to continue it. Who is Naruto Uzumaki? What kind of power does he have? Is it the power of a god? Zamasu's eyes narrowed. Naruto turned on his power and yelled, "MSSJ3. Zamasu's fist tightens from behind as he says, "Nothing else that a normal person shouldn't have. First Goku, now this boy. It's crazy that a normal person could have so much power." At Bulma's house again. The three injured Saiyans were lying on the ground when Bulma came back with a pouch and took out 3 senzu beans. "Here, give one to each of them," she said, handing one to Bardock. Bardock looked at the bean and wondered what it could do. Jin didn't care. He quickly grabbed the bean, walked over to Kakarot, opened his mouth, and put the bean in while he chewed it. Bardock went to Vegeta in the same way that his wife did. Goku started to groan. He opened his eyes and saw someone, but for a few seconds his vision was blurry. When it cleared up, he saw a woman he knew looking down at him with tears in her eyes. "Kakarot," she said softly, but he heard it, and it brought back memories. "Kakarot, don't forget about us." Goku sat up and looked at the female Saiyan, and he only had one word to say. Mom?" he asked in a shaky voice. Jin's heart burst with love when her son called her that. Tears came out of her eyes, and she hugged him tight until she couldn't hold them back any longer. Bardock gave his wife a small smile when he saw that she was finally happy to see their son. He then went to let everyone know he was there. Goku looked up and was shocked to see a man who looked just like him, except for the scar on his cheek and some other features. He could guess who the man was because he had a tail. "Father?" Bardock nodded and said, "I've heard you've gotten stronger." His son laughed. He seems to have taken on some of Jin's traits, but he didn't care. What mattered was that his son was a strong warrior. When Vegeta woke up, he sat up and asked, "How are you here?" Bulma slapped the back of her husband's hair, which surprised the other couples. She then gave her husband a mean look. The Saiyan prince grumbled, "Vegeta, don't be rude." They couldn't believe it when they saw how hard the prince of the Saiyan race was beaten. Bardock wanted to laugh until his wife hit him in the ribs with an elbow. "I brought them back to life with the Namekian Dragon Balls for the tournament that Zeno wanted. By the way, I tried to call Whis but he hasn't picked up. I was wondering if you guys knew why, but since we found you all unconscious, you might as well tell us what's going on." Future Trunks started to tell the story of Goku Black and how he would be killed in the future. Vegeta then told how Black turned out to be Zamasu, an apprentice of the Supreme Kai of Universe 10. But when Zamasu showed up next to Black, things got even more complicated. Naruto said, "It sounds like you're in a bad situation." Super Saiyan rose, "Huh? I wouldn't mind fighting something like that." Trunks asked, "I don't mean to be rude, but who are you?" The Saiyan shinobi said, "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I'm the apprentice of the god of destruction from Universe 0. F asked, "Wait, you mean like that Beerus guy?" The Trunks. Naruto nods and says, "Yup, just like my teacher." Trunks couldn't believe it. This kid was probably a year or two younger than him, but he said he was God. Goku got up from the floor and sat on the couch. "He's telling the truth, Trunks, and he's a little stronger than me and Vegeta," he said. Vegeta yelled, "Shut the hell up, you idiot." When Kaguya cleared her throat, the tension was broken. Maybe it would be better to get back to the main point, she said. The boy nods. Right, so we have two of the same guy, and one of them has Goku's body, which means he knows all your moves. Goku nodded to confirm this. Naruto looked over at Broly and said, I bet I could beat him easily, but I think someone else can too. Goku asked, who are they? Naruto said, that big Saiyan is Broly, and the older one is his father, Paragus. Vegeta's eyes got narrow when he saw how much power the Saiyans had. His energy is so high, and he's not even trying, they said. Goku was shocked by how strong Broly was. Wow, this guy is strong. He's probably holding back more. I wonder if he wants to spar now and then. Do you think you can do it, Broly? Naruto asked. Of course he is, he has been waiting for a strong fighter, said Paragus. Naruto didn't believe what the old man said, but he did know that Broly would look for a strong fighter because he was a Saiyan. Naruto said, let's not waste time, let's just do it. Goku cheered, I'm with you. Bulma didn't understand why Saiyans didn't make plans. She said, wait a minute, you guys don't know anything about these enemies or the situation, and you want to rush in already. Don't worry, woman, my son can handle it, Paragus said, which made Vegeta angry. I think you should watch how you sound, he said as he walked toward him. Broly stopped him and gave him a dirty look. Bulma calmed down her husband by telling him, Vegeta, forget about it. As soon as Naruto spoke, the tension was gone. Okay, ladies, let's get to it. We've got a false god to beat down. After half an hour, Bulma fixed the time machine in the group, which was made up of Goku, Bardock, Vegeta, and Trunks, while Broly and Paragus held onto Naruto's shoulder. Goku said, we'll see you there, as the machine flew up and disappeared through a portal. Naruto put all of his power into the ring, and soon it and the others disappeared. Future Universe Number 7. Goku and his group also showed up, along with Naruto and the other two. They got out of the time machine while Trunks put it away. So all of this was done by Black? Naruto asked, looking at the destroyed city. He stepped on something and looked down to see a doll of a little girl. Seeing this made him angry. The Trunks nod. Yes, he said in a serious tone. So you idiots are back, they heard someone say. When they looked up, Black was in the air with Zamasu. It looks like you brought some friends with you, too. Black saw the newcomers, but he was most interested in Naruto and Broly because of their high energy. So you're Goku Black. Of all the sick and twisted people I've met over the years, you guys are the worst. Just the fact that you guys think you're gods is enough for me to kill you both. Black and Zamasu both had a good laugh. Zamasu said, do you really think you can kill us? You'll go down the same way as those three pathetic fools. Naruto gave a smirk. If you both claim to be so-called gods, then prove it, but not against me, Broly growled as he tensed up. The big dog looks like he wants to play, why don't you show him Broly? This is it, my son. It's time to show what you've learned, said Paragus. Broly made a louder grunt. Do it, Broly, attack, said Paragus. Broly yelled and flew quickly toward Black. He threw a punch, which Black blocked and threw him into the air. Broly kept attacking while Black dodged his attacks and hit him with a kick. Broly took the kick and gave him one of his own, sending Black away. Black didn't have a chance to block when he came from behind. He was hit with a back fist, which sent him through buildings. Black flew out of the broken rubble and attacked the Saiyan. They both hit each other back and forth. Black coughed after getting hit hard in the gut, and a hard blow to the head knocked him down. Broly kicked in the air, but it was blocked, and a piece of the building fell. He kept throwing punches so fast that Black had to defend himself. He was hit by a green blast that sent him through many more buildings. Wow, look at him go. Goku was amazed by the Saiyan's speed and strength. Vegeta said, it looks like he's studied his powers. Zamasu knew that Black was playing around with the Saiyan, but he shouldn't be getting this hurt. He turned around just in time to stop Bardock's attack. Bardock smiled and went SSJ. I'm your opponent, he told him, and with a backflip kick to the chin and a side kick to the head, he sent him flying into a building. Wow, my dad is also an SSJ. Goku couldn't believe it. The boy nods. He, your mother, and Broly have all been training with me in Kaguya for a long time, so it's not surprising that he's so strong. Black Goku was far away. He knew it was time to stop playing, so he yelled and turned into his Super Saiyan Rose. He blocked Brawly's punch and squeezed it hard, making him wince. He tried to kick him away, but was kneed in the gut and kicked in the chest far away. Brawly shook off the damage and flew away quickly with a kick, but Black used instant transmission to disappear. Brawly looked around until he felt a blade in his stomach and saw Black smiling. The Saiyan pushed the blade out, so it didn't last. When his energy became visible around his body and his eyes turned yellow, he let out a growl. He yelled, "Uzaru Roar," which shook the planet and let out a strong wind. Goku asked Vegeta loudly, "Oh man, have you ever seen a Saiyan like this before?" While shielding his face from a gust of wind. "No," said Vegeta as he put his hands up to protect his face. The strong wind didn't bother Naruto at all. Brawly cocked his right hand back and hit Black in the jaw with a bone-breaking punch. Black's head flew back and he fell to the ground. When the Saiyan flew down and stomped on which Black rolled away, he wasn't done. After a few more stomps, he gave Black a hard kick to the stomach, which made him fall again and slide across the ground. Brawly gave a low growl that showed he was not done. He opened his mouth and made a powerful green ki. A few seconds later, he shot at Black, who covered his whole right arm with ki and managed to knock the powerful attack into the sky, where it went off and shook the whole planet. Oh, crap. Who knows what would have happened if that had hit the ground? Goku yelled. Vegeta was so mad that he clenched his teeth. Who the hell was this Saiyan? Zamasu and Bardock were fighting, and Bardock was avoiding Zamasu's hand covered in ki. Zamasu hit Bardock with 2 punches to the face and a sidekick to the body, bringing him down. Bardock fired a series of ki blasts that lasted at least 10 seconds. He stopped the attack when the area was filled with smoke. Zamasu didn't take long to come out of the smoke. Before they continued fighting, they just moved out of the way of Brawly's blast and watched it go off. Holy shit, Bardock said with his eyes wide open. When Zamasu saw the attack, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. He quickly saw that the Saiyan was pushing Black back, even though he was in SSJR form. He was able to escape Bardock and fly to Black. Brawly turned and kicked Black in the gut, making him cough up a big glob of blood. Black was then grabbed by the Saiyan's huge hand and thrown backwards, hitting his face on the buildings. Brawly let go and gave Black an uppercut, which sent him high into the air where Zamasu caught him. Black wiped his mouth and said, "TCH, to think that a moral would push us this far. We need to do it sooner than we thought," said Zamasu, and Black nodded. The others watched as Zamasu took the patara off his left ear and put it on his right. Goku and Vegeta both had big eyes. "Eye is he?" Goku asked. "It can't be," said Vegeta with doubt. Naruto remembered what Hagora had told him about the patara earrings. Bardock and Brawly watched as the two glowed, rushed at each other, and spun around, making a bright light that blinded everyone except Naruto. Slowly, the light went out, and the figure in the air turned out to be a fused Zamasu that was glowing a rainbow of white light colors. With an evil smile, he said, "My form is justice, and my form is the world. Honor and praise this noble, beautiful, immortal, and most powerful god, Zamasu." Brawly snarled and charged, but before he could land a punch, the false god disappeared, which confused him. He turned around, which was a mistake because Zamasu suddenly appeared next to him and gave him a powerful kick to the side of the head, sending him crashing to the ground. "Brawly!" Paragus yelled. Bardock tried to turn and flew toward Zamasu. He attacked him head-on, but the former Kai was too strong for him. He grabbed one of Bardock's arms and gave it a bone-crushing grip, making Bardock wince. He was then hit in the chest with a blast and fell backwards. Goku yelled, "Father!" and got angry. He was about to change, but when he saw Zamasu get back up, he went after him again, this time firing multiple ki blasts. Zamasu just swatted away the attacks like they were nothing, which made Bardock angry. Bardock then tried to do his signature move, but Brawly rushed past him and stopped it. Zamasu was knocked back by a hard punch when he tried to escape. The former Kai didn't have time to think because Brawly suddenly showed up again and started to throw punches non-stop, sending him flying through building after building. Zamasu kept his guard up and thought, he's much faster than before. He caught the Saiyan's leg and threw him away. They came out of the collapsed big building and kept fighting until Zamasu kicked Brawly away and made a bunch of red ki balls that floated around him. "This is the end," Zamasu yelled, and then he sent blasts everywhere. The group of Saiyans started to block each attack. Paragus tried to hide, but he was hit by a blast that sent him flying. This went on for 10 seconds, and then it stopped. The false god was so focused on the other group that he didn't notice Brawly flying behind him until he got kicked in the back of the head and fell to the ground. When he looked up, he saw Brawly coming at him. This gave Zamasu a chance, so he shot a small white energy ball at Brawly, which temporarily stopped him. Zamasu turned on his keyblade and slashed Brawly's chest deeply while sending out key blasts. Brawly. Paragus said in a weak voice. Zamasu stopped the attack and watched with satisfaction as a human fell down in front of him. Brawly tried to get up, but a foot hit him in the throat, making it hard for him to move. The attack that made him unable to move was still having an effect on him. Zamasu looked at an injured Paragus and said, "It's a shame I have to kill someone so strong. Before I kill you, let me show you despair," he said. He made a small key and shot it at the Elder Saiyan, who was too hurt to move. The bullet went through his heart and killed him right away. Bardock's eyes got very big. DB Super Brawly. Brawly's Rage and Sorrow Ost 002. Seeing someone kill his father in front of him, Brawly started to shake out of control, and all of a sudden, green energy exploded from his body and pushed Zamasu away. When Brawly's power started to grow quickly in front of their eyes, the men were shocked, especially Naruto. Brawly stood up while he was still shaking and crying a little. He yelled in the air in anger as he floated up, and just the power he was putting out changed the atmosphere. He kept crying out in pain. If you looked closely, you could see that his pupils were gone and his eyes were a bright red color. Brawly was surrounded by a huge ball of green energy that crackled with lightning. Zamasu got ready for what was going to happen. The giant orb was broken, letting out a huge column of green energy. A huge figure with gold hair spikes and red glowing eyes and a sinister smile came out of the column. When Naruto saw what it was, his jaw dropped. Now, Brawly was a Super Saiyan. He let out a loud cry, sending more of his power out into the world.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.